leaders, and now Series 3, having executives and leaders of private and public sectors. So I'd like to invite Abi Oshoba, who of course will tell us a little bit about this initiative and really tell us why Series 3 is about having all the executives and the leaders of private and the public sector to tell us the impact of Agile so far, especially in this times of this uncertainty. What exactly has Agile done to their businesses so far? And so, my friend Abi Oshoba.
So,
All right. Um, Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Good to see you all. Thank you all for joining. My name is Abiodun Oshoba. You can all call me Abi. And today I am going to be speaking to you about the future of Agile, Series 3. I'm so excited with regards to our lineup of panelists today. And so I want to thank every one of you. I would like to thank every one of you, each and every one of you today, for being here with us today. I am very pleased to be able to welcome everyone to be a part of Series 3. For those who have been joining us since the beginning, Series 1, Series 2, I just want to say thank you so much. And we are so happy and proud to welcome you to our community. We are very pleased to welcome our inaugural keynote speaker, Mr. Chijoke Eke, our moderator, Daniel Dina, as well as our panelists and our facilitators. Today, Sunday, 6th of September 2020, the Future of Agile in Africa and the Middle East Series 3 is happening right now. And we're very proud to host you today online on Zoom and also streaming live on YouTube. And so a big thank you to everyone who has joined us since the Series 1, Series 2, and now the third series which is taking place today. And you would agree with me that it's been an amazing experience so far. We have received loads of feedback, and we are still receiving feedback right now. And all of those feedback has actually motivated us and pushed us to do more, double our efforts, and for this series. And so there's so much that we have lined up. And before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation and to everyone who has generously supported us, who has donated, who has sponsored us, who has partnered with us, who has collaborated with us, and helped us to make this evening a success. Thank you to everyone coming together to make this happen. I want to especially thank, our sponsors. I'm unable to go through the list right now. One of our facilitators will do that shortly. Our ecosystem partners, our facilitators, our moderators, our keynote speaker, as well as our panelists. And behind the scenes, we have all these wonderful people coordinating our events today. And so the future of Agile in Africa and the Middle East, I believe, is an initiative that is very close to my heart. Basically, this idea came from myself and my team. We did a bit of research, and we found out that there's so many reports out there today. 14 state Agile reports, the list is long. Moody's reports, even reports from so many Agile institutions. And they always leave out Africa. Somehow they think that maybe Africa is not ready, or Africa is not prepared. Or maybe they just think that we don't have enough intellectuals or smart people. But I'm happy to let them all know and let you all know that there's been a lot of work going on. And so if no one is going to tell our story, we are prepared to tell our story starting now. And so we came together as an organization. It's a nonprofit initiative, the future of Agile.org. If you haven't visited our website, you need to do so. And on that website, we put all that information there. And basically, our goal is to put together a report speaking, telling us our own story, sharing our own narrative with regards to the work that's currently going on with organizations, tools that are currently being used, the challenges, the impacts, the constraints, also the opportunities that are out there. You know, people will be sharing their own personal stories on their journey, as well as sharing different things that has impacted them. The greatest thing that has impacted Agile in Africa is culture. And when you talk about culture outside of Africa, when you talk about culture in North America, when you talk about culture in Europe, you know, we hear things like inclusion, diversity. Those are the words that are being used. And it means something else completely. In Africa, when you talk about culture, you're talking about religion, you're talking about gender, you're talking about language, you're talking about sex, you're talking about beliefs, you're talking about tradition, you're talking about so many things that tie up culture that people bring into the workplace, they bring into their organization. And so the future of Agile is going to be addressing a lot of key issues that impact adoption of Agile practice and mindset in Africa and the Middle East. And you can tell that the culture difference between Africa and the Middle East is very, very slim. We share so many values together. And so for me today, I just want to say that our keynote speakers that we have carefully selected, our panelists that we carefully selected, will all be speaking from an executive perspective as well.
Everyone. I am Daniel. I am your moderator. It just seems like we're having a bit of connectivity issues right now. Just bear with us 1 minute and we'll try and resolve that. Mute their microphones right now. There's a bit of echo coming in. Thank you very much. And we would base the call on you if you can come on. Thanks. Thank you very much. Whilst Abby is trying to reconnect, we would basically hold on for Ileana. This is the beauty of working using technology and not face-to-face. So do bear with us, but we're going to get there. As Abby was saying earlier on before she joins, we basically were about to introduce our keynote speaker, but the future of Agile in Africa has been driven by Abby, who's gained over 20 years experience. And I have worked with Abby quite closely over the last couple of months and years. And she is quite passionate about everything that has to do with transformation in Africa. And one of the beauties that we're trying to do is change the narrative as to what does Agile mean in Africa and the Middle East? We see a lot of reports going about, a 1% adoption or a 2% adoption of Agile in Africa and the Middle East. And we think that that doesn't really truly reflect, what truly Agile companies or companies in Africa and in the Middle East are doing in terms of the adoption of Agile and also the expansion on the knowledge and education of Agile. So without wasting time, whilst we wait for
Daniel.
through, so Abby has come through right now, and I'll just basically hand over back to Abby. Thanks, Abby.
All right. So apologies, we just had a little glitch with our internet, and so all right. I would like to introduce our facilitators and as well as our moderator. Our moderator today is Daniel Dina. Daniel Dina is a principal Agile coach and enterprise transformation consultant. He's a seasoned, dynamic, and passionate Agile coach and trainer with a very engaging approach and diverse range of transferable skills, practical knowledge, experience of Agile assessments, organizational change, cultural impacts, and different ways of working on implementing several types of Agile transformations and enterprise initiatives. He's a certified SAFe 5.0 program consultant, SPC, SAFe Agilist SA, SAFe Scrum Master SSM, and a SAFe Product Owner POPM. Our facilitator, one of our facilitators I would like to also introduce to you is Tunde Giwa. He's the head Agile transformation at the Agile Advisor Africa. Tunde Giwa is a certified ICT professional with a BS in accounting. He has acquired several certifications in Agile, project management, and IT management, as well as Microsoft and Cisco. He's a result-driven seasoned professional with over 15 years experience, hands-on experience in networking, IT service management, and IT infrastructure as a whole. The next facilitator I'd like to introduce to you is Itoha Iyala. Itoha Iyala is a digital product expert who has demonstrated many years of working in the financial services, and she has spent over 12 years doing this. She's an expert product manager, skilled in analytical skills, customer service, banking, sales, and change management. She has very strong product management. She has very strong product management skills, as well as being a disruptive thinker with a postgraduate certificate in strategic marketing, disruptive strategy from the Cornell University, as well as the Harvard Business School, respectively. Our next facilitator that I'm about to introduce to you is Olusoga Okusami. Olusoga Okusami is a certified Scrum Master and is also an Agile consultant with a BS in accounting. He has also acquired certifications in Oracle Certified Database Associate. He has over 10 years experience comprised of a brief stint in the banking and financial services sector, working with Venture Trust Company, Guarantee Trust Bank, way back 2004 to 2006. He has other experiences working with FMCG industry, Coca-Cola, Cadbury, and so many others. And also one more facilitator I would like to introduce you to all today is Eliana Philip Amulum. Eliana Philip Amulum is an effective HR professional, discovering talents and harnessing their potentials to build an exponential, successful team and brand for excellent growth of an organization. Eliana has passion in engaging people the Agile way, and she strongly believes that she's able to change the world and make it a better place that will create value for every customer. She has pioneered HR departments in many reputable organizations, and she's also worked as an enterprise Agile adoption. Eliana has over 16 years experience in HR, which includes her Agile journey. what I've done so far, talking about the moderator as well as the facilitators, is reading their bio out loud to you. But I personally want to introduce them to you the way I have known them over the past 3 years. These are people that are part of the Agile community in Nigeria. They are the leaders doing all of the work behind the scenes. Everything you see here, they are the ones making it happen. These are very passionate individuals. They are professionals, they're hardworking, and they put in all their time, making sure that Agile in Nigeria, Agile in Africa, Agile in the Middle East succeeds. They don't look at the time at all. Most of them have been here already more than 8 hours on a Sunday, and not to even talk about the time they spend. They've given of their time, of their talent over the years in building a community that has been successful for the past 3 years. And so these are the people who will be hand-holding us on this journey this afternoon as we talk about the future of Agile in Africa and the Middle East. Thank you. All right, so I'm back. I was told that there was a little internet glitch. After all, we're in Lagos, we're in Nigeria, we're in Africa. And so I want to talk to you about why we're here today. The reason we're here today is to tell our own story. And as I was trying to explain earlier on, there's so many reports out there today. The popular one is the State of Agile report. There's tons of reports. And if you try to take a look at any of these reports, what you will find is talking about Agile, the state of Agile in Europe, in North America, talking about the influence, the impacts, the benefits of Agile, the challenges, the issues, and all of those things for organizations, for business, for individuals, for teams. And when you look at the bottom of that report, which is usually where you find Africa, regardless of the category, regardless of the segment, there's always a representation of 1% or 2% for Africa. When you talk about tools adoption, when you talk about adoption as a whole, when you talk about interaction of Agile within an organization, its team, its the individuals there, the leadership, the response, and all of that. And so this has been very disturbing for me personally. And so myself and a group of people, we decided to take a stand and speak out. And basically, what we're doing this by setting up this initiative, which we have done. It's a non-profit. It's called the Future of Agile. And our focus for edition 1 is the future of Agile in Africa and the Middle East. And we've been putting together a group of experts, which we had in series 1, experts who are Africans, who are Agile practitioners, not necessarily based in Africa right now. We had different people from Egypt, from South Africa, we had from Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria. And the second edition, we decided to also hear from organizations leading Agile efforts across the world. And we have different representations, Middle East as well, North America, Europe, in Africa as a whole, and so many other so many other regions. And this series, we're looking to hear from leaders and executives because when we talk about agile adoption within an organization, we're always hearing the word top to bottom. That's what we're always hearing, top to bottom. And so these are the people at the top who make the decisions with regards to what needs to happen, the budget, the time frame, the interactions, what are the impacts, who is the driver, how is this going to happen? How is it going to happen within the organization? How is it going to impact culture? How is it going to impact the revenue, the bottom line? And so these are the people who are the movers and shakers of the organization, if you allow me to use that word. And so it's very important to hear from their perspective as we get all this input as we're feeding into our own report. The fourth category will be Agile practitioners from across the world, experts from across the world. We're gathering all this information, surveys will be happening, live panel discussions will be taking place, contributions from different teams and organizations will be happening. And basically, we are going to change the narrative. We're going to write our own story. We're going to talk about the journey that organizations have embarked on. It's been 3 years that myself and my team have been working within the community in Nigeria, in Africa, and the Middle East. Someone can't sit somewhere in North America and represent all that work as 1%. I don't agree with that. And I'm sure every one of you listening to me wouldn't agree with that as well. And so we are changing the status quo, we're challenging it, and we are going to be telling our own story. And we are going to be hearing from people who have hands-on experience, executives especially who have hands-on experience leading transformation in their organization. Some of these people have been doing this work for a while. They didn't just start. And I don't believe that word should be translated as 1%. It's one thing not to be aware or not to even know about all the stories, which is okay. But then we are aware of the stories, and so that's why we're telling our stories. There's so many organizations in Nigeria, so many organizations across Africa who have embarked on so many agile transformations, pushing the envelope, pushing the bar with regards to agile, making an impact with regards to the community as a whole, trying to bring about change, helping to customize it, considering the culture change and impacts that happen within Middle East and Africa, bringing into context all of the opportunities, the constraints, the challenges, everything that we are faced in adopting Agile and ensuring that we're still able to overcome all of that and deliver high value as well as improve our ways of working. And so that's the reason why we're here today. At the end of November, you would all be receiving a holistic report that's going to speak to what the impacts of Agile in Africa, what has happened so far in Agile in Africa and Middle East, the opportunities that are there, the challenges that are there, the benefits, and all of the different stories from different organizations and businesses, as well as experts and executives who are on the call, who are on our panelists today. And so I just want to say thank you all, and I invite you all to stay tuned as we bring you a lot of other amazing information as we start the series and the conversation, as we bring forth our keynote speaker, Mr. Chijioke, aka the MD at the Sigma Technologies, and so many other amazing experts who are going to be speaking to us today. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Hello.
Just hold on, Chijioke. We'll get back to you soon. I think basically we have Sugar coming up on right now.
Okay. This is what I'm. This,
I will just quickly run through the series rules. Thank you for joining us once again. We would like to please encourage all participants to place their questions in the Q&A box at the designated time during the series. Our goal will be to accommodate all questions during the time frame of the series. There will be two Q&A sessions for series attendees. The first Q&A will take place after the inaugural keynote. The second Q&A will take place after the interactive session with the moderator and our panelists. Kindly place any questions you may have in the Q&A box. Now, during the interactive series between the moderator and the panelists, Q&A box will be reserved for the moderator's questions. Participants are requested to kindly hold on to their questions until after the question and answer session between the moderator and the panelists. Once this question and answer session is completed, participants are welcome to place their questions in the Q&A box, as there will be a Q&A session after the moderator session with the panelists. This session is being streamed live on YouTube for all attendees who are unable to join via Zoom. Please go to our bio at the Agile Advisor on Instagram and click on the Linktree link to connect yourself to the YouTube channel. YouTube viewers may please place their questions in the comments and we will pick them up from there and then pass them across to our panelists. A recording of the future of Agile interactive session will be available on demand via our YouTube channel. So please stay tuned as we progress with the series. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sugar. Without wasting time, can everyone hear me? We will just wait for Itona to introduce our next speaker. Just hold on 1 minute. We can't hear you. So can you raise the volume from you guys in the conference there?
What to do?
Daniel, can you hear us now? Better.
Oh, okay.
Daniel, can you hear us? Is it better?
Yeah, a little bit louder.
Can you hear us now, Daniel? Is it better?
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Daniel. Good evening. Good evening, Africa. Good evening, panelists, our keynote speakers, and welcome to the Future of Agile in Africa and in the Middle East Series 3. Daniel, I'm going to fine you for mispronouncing my name, and I'm going to be requesting my fine in foreign currency. So we'll have a conversation after this release. So before we continue, just want to appreciate our sponsors and our partners, people that believe in this initiative, this idea, and have given us the platform with which we are reaching out to the world today, and giving us, believing in us to be able to tell our story as regards the future of Agile in Africa. So very quickly, I would like to run through our sponsors and our partners. So we appreciate them greatly, starting with the Agile Alliance. Thank you for your support. Orchid Technologies, thank you. Gracious Travels and Tours Limited, we appreciate your support immensely. Business Agility, we appreciate your support. Banking Systems and Context, we appreciate your support. TK Consultancy and the Abbey Mentors, these have been our sponsors and our partners. We appreciate you. We thank you for believing in us. We also want to recognize our what we call our ecosystem partners. These are organizations that have been on the journey with us even before the future of Agile in Africa and in the Middle East was conceptualized. They've supported us from get-go as far as passing across Agile, the story of Agile in Africa, and especially in Nigeria. So we'd like to appreciate them. Call them ecosystem partners. They include IC Agile, thank you, Remote Forever, Team Retro, Sigma, the Agile People, Center for Agile Coaching, Freeline, Caleb Consultants, the Access Bank, the Agile Dads, Green Agile, African Free Tech Foundry. We thank you all immensely. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for supporting our dream and our initiative. We appreciate you greatly. So, without wasting much of your time, we would like to introduce our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker today is one of Africa's respected ICT experts with significant experience leading major technology companies and innovation in Nigeria. He is currently the co-founder and managing director of Sigma Technologies. He is also a director at WaveTech Nigeria, a notable ICT infrastructure and green energy development company. His enviable experience includes remarkable successes at top establishments like Shell Petroleum, Perry Consultants, Data Science Nigeria Limited, as well as KPMG. He is the fellow of the Nigerian Computer Society, a member of the Computer Professional Registration Council, and a life member of the Institute of Directors of Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome our keynote speaker for today, Mr. Chiju Ike. And we get a digital round of applause, please. Mr. Chiju Ike, good evening, sir. Welcome to the future of Agile in Africa and in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So you're muted. Can you unmute your mic?
Yes. 1 second. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Beautiful. Sorry. Where is it? Yes, so, but I need to start it here. Good. Yes. So, this, yeah, good. Good evening, everyone. And sorry for that lag. Like I said, before I go off, like I was saying initially in the room for the panelists, let me quickly make a couple of disclaimers. I the love story I want to tell you here does not in any way arrogate to myself the right to become an agile expert because I'm still learning the ropes. And that's why I was telling them that Abi quietly set me up in the midst of asking me to go and sell coal in Enugu. That's a big one. But be it as it may, let me quickly thank the organizers for having me, and I recognize the presence of all relevant stakeholders, leaders, agile advocates, and adherents in this conference. And let me stand by existing protocol. And before I proceed, also, let me quickly acknowledge Adi Oshoba of Agile Advisors, Tunde Giwa Shoga of Agile Advisors, Ade Shokoya, if he's here, of Agile TV, Ivan LeBon, and the rest of the panelists available here, Daniel, Wali, Chiso, and the rest. So I'm quite excited to be with you this evening. And just to kickstart things, let me, where is it? To move it. It's not moving yet. Yes. Yes. Now, according to the Agile Business Consortium for 2019, Agile business, it's one that enables you to adapt quickly. This is my understanding to market changes for those of us who are market facing, clients, and the generality of the customers and users of our products and services. Anticipate and respond rapidly and with flexibility. Adapt and lead change productively. Be competitively ready. Be ready to compete at all times. And for us here in our interactions and agile journey, we have come to reinforce the belief that the customer is the king, and agile business is essentially customer-centric. And please, quickly, before I move on, let me tell you a little story about this. I think most of us may know the story around Nokia, Symbian phones, the arrival of Android, and the consequences of not being agile and responding in time. There was a time Nokia was to phone what HP was to printers. But as at the disruptive start of the Android revolution, there were suggestions and heated discussions that it was necessary for Nokia to venture into Android-driven phones rather than concentrate on Symbian. But there was a question of, well, that time will come, but not now. And before they knew it, Android became the king and Nokia lost out. Eventually, they were bought over, if you ask me, with a little tinge of hostility by Microsoft. And they took what they wanted from the company. And today, Nokia has finally gone back to Android stable. But because of the lack of agility initially, if you like, the chances are that they are now struggling because they let the horses bolt from the stable before they closed the stable. So this is what, in our perception, Agile tries to avoid. That is what it imbibes, and that's what we are learning also. So this is one great African. But before we get here, I needed to also let you know that I am a passionate believer in Africa. I believe in the limitless possibilities of enterprise, innovation, push by Africans for Africa. So please allow me to have that sentiment. And for me, this is one great African. And he says, thought without action is empty. And action without thought is blind. But this great African is no more with us. It's of blessed memory from Ghana. So the bottom line to that is that Agile is not just about thoughts and ideas in our own understanding and in our journey here. It requires proactive actions, speed, flexibility for successful outcomes. Now, the other revered man who we like to talk to or refer you to is the great man from UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. And this is relevant to what we see and what Agile tries to deliver. He says, with each new day, the gazelle wakes up knowing that he must outrun the fastest lion or perish. At the same time, the lion stares and stretches, knowing that he must outrun the fastest gazelle or starve. The bottom line is that you need thought, action, speed, adaptability, and consistent innovation for sustainability and staying ahead. And to sum all this, it comes under the fact that the bottom line is distinction and differentiation. You have to try and distinguish and differentiate what you are offering. Add something to what the other man is adding, and there's no other way to look at it in the current 21st century than to adopt, in our conviction, the Agile process. Now, for us, here at SIDMAC, I consider the following as what triggered the necessity for agility in our business. Everyone is looking to expand the market share of opportunities and cover more grounds. That's with respect to people and markets. This has throttled forward the need to go agile to discover better and more innovative ways of doing things. What I mean by that is that you cannot continue to do what you did yesterday, do it today and do it tomorrow in the disruptive world we are in today. Particularly when you consider the innovations that have come with the current pandemic, that we would rather see the back, but it's still with us. And you can't do the things the way you were doing it before and expect that you're going to continue to stay on top of the pack. Now, even at good times, for the continuous sustenance of products or services in the market, a time comes when your products or services begin to approach a tripping point. And that is where the catch is. So you need to go in and reinvent, renovate, reevaluate, review, re-strategize, and then add value to the customer. Because like I said initially, customer, if you want to be relevant. So if you look at that, then you see that for the continuous sustenance of products or services in the market, review, prediction, and innovation has to come into major play. Companies like ours and agencies have a high level of need for ways and processes of sustaining, keeping their products up to date. Agile postulates best practices on how to do this efficiently. I am saying this from being right there at the trenches. Now, if your product is reaching a tripping point or your services, every day we hear about tens and tens, and particularly in the ICT environment where I play, A lot of startups are coming up with a lot of ideas, innovations, intervention, even support from government that's trying to help in one way or the other to enable them to come. So you cannot go there and sit down and think that what you did yesterday, you do it today, you're going to get there. So when your product begins to reach tripping point, I think one of the ways you can re-engineer your environment is to look at the potentials and the power of Agile. Good. I just covered this. When you talk about every day, new startups are coming up. The big boys globally are actually coming to set up shops locally. What are you going to do? For those of us who believe in the power of the African and the ability of the African to compete toe to toe, if the environment is right, you must have to show that you are not going to be found at the back channels. The key thing is not to get to the first quadrant of what you do. The real challenge is how to remain in the first quadrant. And this is where the competition is. But let me borrow from the words of my good friend, Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft. He did say that when it is necessary in this process, you compete. But sometimes also, you compete and also cooperate. And that gave way to a new lexicon that we call co-opetition. Where you have to compete, you compete. Where you have to cooperate, you cooperate and network. And Agile is a natural turf for this to happen in our own view. Again, when you begin to have discordant tunes between what you are offering as your vision and what the customers. In mathematics, there's something we used to do those days was curves. So when your lines begin to be tangential to the curves, you know you are veered out of. So if what you are offering, your product vision, begins to be tangential to customer satisfaction expectations, obviously it is time to adopt Agile so that you can realign, because you must realign and refocus and re-strategize and agree, synchronize with the customers in order to remain relevant and be able to go. So where there are divergent vision between product or services from what the customer wants, it becomes a big problem. But with Agile, the problem is taken out due to the fact that Agile encourages constant interactions, iterations, and improvements. I'm saying this from somebody right there at the front lines on a daily basis. Products and services reaching life cycle maturity. Now, even in his experience, I wish if you really want to hear my history, you have to give me about 2-3 hours unbroken, but I will try as much as possible to bridge it. Now, the way we started with Sigma was supposed to be a maintenance and support company. I tell you, 99% of the companies that were competing with us at that time have gone under because they chose a mono-product line. And as soon as disruption and competition came, they sank. Some of them today, we can't remember the names of their CEOs who used to compete with us those days. But so you must continue to innovate. You must continue to act proactively, like I said in my first slide. And there is no way you can do all this without having to come the necessity for being agile. And this is what we saw after our away season or session last year. And we knew that, no, there was a need for us to go the agile way. And one big lady hiding under the panelists here, Eliana. Eliana was a major effort in pushing this at that time. And I will tell you that story as I proceed with my slides. Why there's a necessity for buy-in for this effort, right from top to bottom. Now, if you need to continuously improve processes and keep up with industry standards, there is no way you can continue to run what we know before, the waterfall model. Or you try to manage by saying, well, I can combine waterfall with agile, let's run Waja. It's not going to work. And I'm saying this because these are things we have seen, tried, and we know that agile is the way to go. So now I heard Abby passionately talk about the situation, and to some extent, Daniel too, in his introductory remarks, about the way they look at Africa in all these things, so 1-2%. So I'm going to veer off from that and using a slide I'm going to share, but courtesy of the Agile, Business Agility Institute, whose man was here with us in one of the two previous sessions. Now, this is the slide, and with their kind permission, I want to let you see what the maturity models are. In 2019, Business Agility Institute told us that in a scale of 1 to 10, the average maturity around the world was 5 for America, 4.6 out of 10 for South America, 3.7 for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, 4.5 for Asia, 4.0 for Oceania. But if you look at the percentage of responses at the survey they did, then in 2019, it was 22% for America, 6 for South America, 25 for EMEA, 7 for Asia, 12 for Oceania. Now, the interesting thing about this is not the low score of EMEA, but there's an interesting thing I want to show you that I got from this slide. Now, look on the right side of the slide. You will see that in 2018, the returns was 29%. By 2019, it was 22% in North America. So it was pointing southwards. Now, look at South America, well, generally static. Then you look at Asia. Can I take away this screen? I need to take away for 1 second. No, I need to, okay, minimize it. So if you look at Asia, it was 9% in 2018, and then 7% 2019, a slight dip. Oceania, 14% in 2018 and 12% pointing southwards. Guess what? EMEA, where we are, it was 16% in 2018 and a whopping 25% in 2019. What does it tell you? That there is growth. And in the words of the Business Agility Institute, this shows that Africa is in the ascendancy. This zone is in the ascendancy. And I can assure you that though sometimes Africa may be a late starter, but when they kick off in the right places, except in governance, where we know we have challenges, we outperform and we outshine. Now, if we are going, others are pointing southwards and we are pointing northwards in our region. The key thing there is that this is a summary, not a granularity. If you then come to the granular levels, you will see that Africa is also steering northwards in Agile implementation and maturity. So for us, there is hope. It shouldn't be all gloomy. So we should look at the glass as half full rather than half empty. Thank you very much for that. Now, our journey so far. Like I told you at the beginning, we did our strategy session. We call it the away day out there. And we found that we had to do some re-engineering to avoid a tripping point. And at the end of it, we took some decisions in our strategy, goals, and vision. And one of the tools that came to our mind was that there was a need for us to embark on this journey. And at the end of that, we engaged in our early transformation. And we engaged credible consultants. Some of them are here to travel down this journey with us from zero and hopefully to hero. So we reviewed our business needs and looked at our structure and capacity. We did this to be able to ascertain what exact processes our transformation would require, because the journey is unique for each organization or agency. This is true. The journey is unique for each organization and agency. Now, next, as we engaged, we created teams. We created, after reviewing the business needs and organizational capacity, we created multidisciplinary and self-organizing teams. Agile has come in. But before I go further behind here, this is the point where I need for those who are about to embark on the journey or are taking tentative steps. There is no shortcut to make omelette without breaking the egg. There is no shortcut to, for us, from our own experience, adopting Agile without an executive buy-in. So while the processes and of taking off was going on, we were still steeped in our usual ways of doing things. And so when they come in, so we need to do this, we need to do that and do that, fine, okay, we'll go ahead and do it, go and do it. No, you need to be involved. And at a point, we decided to take the half-day presentation from the Agile team, the Agile advisors. And I tell you, we couldn't do a half day because we didn't have the time, but the 30 minutes to 1 hour we did opened our eyes. And right there, we reorganized the schedule of engagement and put the executive workshop right in front, because we discovered that the executive needed to understand the journey and not to wait for reports. Reports that come in and the executive can say yes or no and delay. The executives needed to buy in, and the buy-in of the executives, if they really believe in this process, and I'm talking to those who are yet embarked on the journey, or those who are seriously considering it, or those who are taking tentative steps, you cannot divorce the executive decision-making machinery from the need to implement an agile organization or agency or company, and they expect to make significant progress. It's tough. So as soon as we got that buy-in, we knew we had to create teams like cells they could be self-organizing with different set of skills available in each team, and assigning them to specific areas that required innovation, rethinking, re-strategizing, restructuring. Of course, you know that what we sell is mainly intellectual property by way of in the IT and ICT domain. And they went to work. So in doing that, the next thing is to go further to implement a collaboration mindset through the organization. And we changed the culture and underline decentralized power. This is for the chief executives that are here, in whichever capacity, whether it is a public or private sector. If you really want to make your agile environment successful, you have to reconcile yourself with the fact and the need to decentralize power. Each of these self-organizing units, you must believe and have trust in what they can do. That does not mean that they may not make mistakes. Yes, mistakes will come, but you must necessarily decentralize power and give them the initiative and authority to take certain decisions, to implement what is best for their teams, to move as long as they align with the company's mission, vision that was already declared even before starting the journey. And sometimes those mission and vision are tweaked when they conflict with the direction of Agile. So what has been our experience so far? Our experience so far is that this has led us and has helped us to deliver value to our customers, more value, and to make sure that we keep improving and getting better, to be able to give the best of this customer to these customers, because they want that and they deserve that. Now, let me tell you a little story around that. Before this, sometimes when we have new requests from customers and we call in the team, we say, look, what kind of gestation period are we going to put to make this thing happen, and we want it to happen? And you hear things like, well, it's new, we have to do this, we have to do that. But you discover that maybe we take 3 months. Sometimes you hear things like 6 months, and we say, no, that is not possible. And without Agile, we managed to reduce this to 6 weeks. But let me tell you what has happened since these teams were set up. What I hear now when I engage in these discussions, I hear things like within 2 sprints. For the development teams, their sprints are 2 weeks. Each sprint is 2 weeks. But for the other teams, they have weekly sprints. And here we should be able to give you a response and the customer within the next sprint. And I tell you what, to cut down in the system development environment, product development environment, solution development environment, we are cutting down certain improvements and values from a gestation period of 6 weeks to a gestation period of 2 weeks or 1 week. I think it's significant. This is what you need to do. And we begin to align and get more positive responses from our customers. And we're happy about that. This is what I'm seeing from my Leaning Tower of Pisa, located in Ikeja. So now, in the process of this, it hasn't been without sweat. You must know that, and this is what I call my basic Agile caveats. For Agile to work well, there must be organizational or agency mindset change. We must not look at the back mirror if you need to make progress. Oh, this is how we used to do it. There's nothing like that in Agile. You must learn that in devolving power, you can go from the hierarchical to the flat, where you give everybody the chance to be the best they can be in the teams where they are. You must necessarily be clear-headed, focused, and forward-looking. If you really want Agile to work in an environment, there's no room for tough fighting. There's no room for, no, this is my area, don't intrude in my area. As long as the teams have been organized, resourced, and they take off, have confidence in what the teams can do. Yes, they're allowed to make mistakes. Please, don't be terrified about mistakes. Yes, they're allowed to make mistakes as long as the mistakes don't become the norm for setting up the teams. They will learn and they will self-correct and they make progress. So Agile transformation starts from the mindset. And it is not about, this is what we must do to improve. If the change is to be total and fruitful, it must start with an organizational mindset change. From the MD to the T girl, to the person and the T executive, and to the gate man, everybody must have that organizational mindset change. And that brings me to another anecdote I will give you. During the time of President Kennedy, of blessed memory, former president of the US, and they had challenged the scientists to take them to the moon. At Houston, NASA facility, there was a visit, and he did ask a janitor, "What is your job, my friend?" He said, "Oh, my job, we are here to put a man on the moon." Now, reconcile a janitor by the lift and the efforts to put a man on the moon. So there's total alignment, and there's that synchronization of thought. So he believes that everybody that passes through where he's doing is all in the effort to put a man on the moon, and a man they put on the moon, really. So that was be instructive for us to understand that mindset of to say, listen, Agile is the way to go, and we are here to go to Agile to distinguish and differentiate our company and to be in the first quadrant and to give our customers the best we can. It is a mindset that must necessarily take root. Also, it must be top to bottom. Executives cannot sit down in their fat offices with air conditioners and watching TV and all that. I think it is for the boys and girls. No, you must lead from the front if it is to succeed. And our consultants, some are here, will know whether this story is for your ears or the area. We are leading, that's why I said we're right at the trenches. We are leading from the front, and so far, I would say so good in the journey. Agile transformation should be organization or agency-wide. You know, the tendency at the initial time when we didn't understand all this was to say, okay, look, this agile thing started from system development. Get the software division in the company to get agile and the rest can happen. But I tell you, after that half-day workshop we had with the advisors and consultants, we knew that we were headed for a tangential direction with our team. Because you cannot create an agile subdivision that comes in to realign with hierarchical and pyramidal type of management and you expect it to work. Somebody will be thinking of what has happened to my power. I used to take a decision on this and sign it off. And I tell you this with all passion because there was a time, if I'm not in the office and there are things that need to be done, it will have to wait, or somebody must find a way to get on me to do it online. Guess what? Most of those things today are done. And whenever I call, we have meetings, all I get to know, this has been done, this has been done, these are the challenges, and this is how we went about it, and this is where we are. And that gladdens my heart and reduces the palpitations that come with what is the customer doing. Are we sure this customer is still with us? Are we doing the right things? So this product and solutions alignment, services alignment is what has been a spin-off from our adoption of Agile. However, what suits each team should be adopted to enable them. So every team must be unique to use what suits them to be the best they can be and offer the services and the tasks expected of them. Two teams don't have to adopt the same strategy. Like I told you earlier here that we have teams whose sprints are bi-weekly, and we also have those that are weekly. And we didn't say, no, these people are doing 1 week, why don't you do 1 week? No, or these people are doing 2 weeks, why is your own shorter? They all sat down and decided what works for them as long as they achieve the goals and the vision that is corporate-wide. Now, there must be an established channel of free flow of communication, the room enough for each individual to fully explore their creative imagination and technical potential. Let me tell you, before this, we have situations where in a meeting, and somebody raises a hand to talk, and somebody says, oh, come on, you just joined, what do you know? It doesn't happen in Agile. It doesn't happen in Agile. Everybody is free to contribute. At the end of the day, everything that is said is sifted in creating the backlogs, in reviewing the sprints, in creating their organizations, and in their traditional practices. They take a look at and they consider all this. So first of all, the confidence is there that yes, I'm contributing in what I know best. And it is being considered. Unlike before, oh, I do hear when I go for meetings as a consultant, I enter in a place and the big man volunteers something and you say, well, is that exactly what all of you are saying? And the subordinate says, my oga has spoken. What do you want me to say? That is not how to run companies, organizations, agencies.
So, Mr. Chijioke, I've just been informed, basically, we have 2 minutes left for you to complete. So,
You shouldn't have taken from my 30 minutes for the one you took earlier. Please, you need to give it back to me. I take it back. And then I need another 5 minutes to try to go after it. So deployment of, let me now go, benefits of Agile. We know what this is. My organization is improved, much improved. Now, what the company is doing is more visible to everybody within the company, not really the fat cats who sit in their offices. Simplify tasks. People go into the backlogs and they take what they can do in their groups and they go ahead and do it. At the end, they synchronize and for value and for the task delivery. Teams are more empowered. And the individuals there, you know, you have the T-shaped people, who may specialize in one area, but because of the multidisciplinary approach and composition of the teams, over time, they become subject initiators and understand more about a whole gamut of skills and capabilities required. And you also have the pie-shaped individuals who come in and they are very solid in two areas, but over the times, the rest of the skills available in the teams permeate. Customer centricity, I have spoken about this. Competitive advantage, when you innovate, you stay ahead of the pack. When you move with speed, you stay ahead of the pack. When you continuously review and align with the customer, you stay ahead of the pack. We've had situations where people have gone to some of our customers and said, well, we know you are dealing with these people. We want to do, say, no, don't talk about them. We know them very well and we are comfortable with them. And that closes the discussion. It's because you engage, align, and synchronize. And you build, when you build skills over time across a team, you also build resilience in their response ability to go ahead and do that. It didn't come without challenges. Reorganizing the structure wasn't easy. And we are still dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but we're making great progress, because with what we're doing and with the pillars of Scrum, which is the Agile method we're using, of transparency and to inspect and adapt, we are aligned. Leadership must try as much as possible to be informal. That creates confidence in the ability of members and team members to talk and be free to say what they feel. And sometimes that is where the clincher comes from. And this must permeate the organization. You must, if you really want to succeed with Agile, from our experience, you must dismantle the hierarchical structure where the MD sits on top as captain on the mountain. Now you create basically flat structures that enable people to bring out the best they can be, and they are considered. You have to adapt new work patterns. And a lot of people struggle with this, but you as a leader, you need to inspire, you need to encourage, you need to exhort, and you need to live by practical example. You don't do all that and you stay in your own ways. Mentoring, yes. And this is one place we have tried to contribute into the Agile ecosystem in this country. Together with our consultants, we've worked hard to develop a tool that makes the automation of all these processes and procedures of Agile implementation automated. And it is called Agile Plus. It is a threshold of values that will make it to stay ahead of the pack. And let me tell you, that's a story for another day. Because if I go into that, you have to give me an hour to keep you in play. But it is there, it is doing the job, and we're happy with it. And it shows visibility for what you are doing or not doing. So there is no under the tree that you can hide. You stick out like a sore thumb, whether you are productive or not. And team autonomy, I've spoken about that. So you look at the future of work. As more businesses embrace technology, they will have to go agile. In other words, to successfully go agile, technology must have to play a big part, which is like what I just spoke to you about, the Agile Plus tool, which is ready and is working today. And our consultants are happy with it too. So we have come a long way from the first industrial revolution to the second, to the third. Now we're in the fourth. And guess what? In the fourth, we believe that artificial intelligence, AI, big data, IoT, cloud, and if you look down, plus blockchain and the rest, we are going to be very, very disruptive, energetic, competitive, forward-looking. So you have to adapt if you want to be relevant in this very industrial age. But then you see the little COVID, the infant terrible of the team that has suddenly come in. with all the woes and all the sad influences of COVID. But guess what? In the area of ICT, COVID has enabled so many things. Even the meeting I'm having with you right now was not there on the cards before COVID, that you could sit here and have people from different continents talking together, visioning together, taking decisions, and implementing together for real. And this is because our traveling has been severely limited. You come in, you wear mask, you go out, you wear mask. So how do you work together? But together we must work. So if you align Agile with the benefits of what we have gotten from the COVID catalyst, which has acted as a catalyst even in this disastrous intervention or disruption, you see that the fourth industrial revolution that is already on is very challenging, and there's no way you're going to be in the first quadrant of competition, cooperation, or competition if you are not focused. So, leadership, business environment in Africa, Middle East, and indeed the world is changing, and only organizations and agencies that can adapt fast and well enough will be safe. Remember the doctrine that came out of the statement of His Royal Highness Al Maktoum of UAE. So you must be flexible. You must be able, businesses and leaders in Africa and the Middle East should become more flexible and adaptable to change. Stop looking in the back mirror and look forward. You must empower your teams and believe in them, trust in them. Yes, and allow ability to make mistakes and learn from it. Mentoring. This is an area you must pay special attention. Constant refresher education. Allow them chance to take decisions without having to breathe down their necks. Take your knees, executives who are here listening to me with all respect, take your knees off the neck of your staff if you really want to be agile or adopt an agile environment. Give them some room to breathe so that you can move forward. Lead from the trenches, not from the air-conditioned offices. Empathize when they have challenges. Reason with them when they have challenges. When you meet with them, assure them that all protocols are observed. And whatever they say there, they have full immunity so that they can bring out, unleash their creative bundle. So for the betterment of the services and solutions or whatever you contribute to your clients. Even in government, we the citizens are the clients of government. And government are set up to cater for the citizens. So the citizens should be king. So if you are doing that, this is not only for the private sector, the public sector can pick all this and we'll all be better for it. Continuous learn, unlearn, and relearn. This is an iterative session that must continue. I'm saying this from what we have learned in our journey.
Okay.
I'm almost out.
I want to say
I have 2 more slides to go, and this is just
we have run out of time, but basically I would appreciate everything you've done. And I believe what we would be able to do is share the slides with everyone who is attending and then, take some time, But everybody, I would love to say thank you to Mr. Chijioke. We need to basically move on. I can frankly say from experience also having led transformations, your challenges are not uncommon to you. It's great seeing the challenges you've gone through. It's also great, fantastic, also hearing from a live person in Africa who has gone through this, is living it, and is breathing this. And I'm just so glad. I think we need another session where we can actually have probably more than an hour or 2 hours where we basically go ahead to do this. But with pleasure, thank you so much for your time, your support, and the keynote address. We would like to be moving on to a few other things. Just to give you a bit of feedback, Mr. Chijioke, we've had already coming in to say thank you for actually that practical experience from Africa. This is really insightful for all of us to see and hear about real life experiences in Africa. So thank you so much on behalf of, we who are basically looking to see exactly the adoption of Agile in Africa and the examples you've given. you're a real living example to actually see how this is. And this is basically insightful, informative, and actually very powerful to see a leader who basically is leading by example, but at the same time changing with also the narrative of, basically decentralizing decision. Without wasting more time, I would basically hand over to IT. IT, I believe you wanted to say a few things before we go ahead to the next phase. Thank you so much again.
Yes, I wanted to join my voice with yours and all other facilitators here to appreciate Mr. Chijuke, for doing justice to this topic immensely, citing hands-on examples. I was particularly touched about the story of the janitor at NASA and how everybody keyed into the goal of taking a man to the moon. So together as one, the future of Agile, our goal is to write our reports, to own our story, to tell our own truths. So for us, that is something we've taken from Mr. Chijoge's presentation. So we want to appreciate you, sir, for your time, for doing immense justice to it, for the amount of research also that went into this presentation. It's part of the documents that we'll put together and we'll be sharing. So we want to say a massive thank you to you, sir, for honoring us with our request and being our keynote speaker. Because of time, we have a couple of questions that have been dropped for your presentation, but we'll not be able to take it. So what we'll be doing is we'll collate these questions, sir, and we will send it to you. Yes. Because the future of Agile in Africa and in the Middle East will form like a community. So we always like to keep our community informed. So what we'll be doing is to pulling together all the questions that have come up for your presentation. We will send it to you so you can help us with the responses, so we can relay it to other members of the community or the community that has asked this question, so that we can all benefit from your very vast and very rich experience. Thank you so much, sir. So Daniel,
let me make one request. Let me make one. Don't give me 30 minutes next time.
Okay, so we'll give you 30 seconds. We'll give you 30 seconds, sir.
Better.
Counting.
Yes, I will use Agile Plus to solve it. Don't worry.
You're only being agile by time boxing you, sir. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you're down to 20 seconds already, sir.
No problem. Agile Plus, we do it. Don't worry.
All right, IT, I was listening to you. Over. What were you saying?
Okay, so I'm saying, Daniel, that you can actually kick off the panelist session, so we can move into the crux of our activities for today. So Daniel, over to you. Please kick off the panelist session.
So thank you, IT. I would be looking to go ahead and introduce all our panelists. We actually have basically a very interesting lineup of people today. And without wasting much time, I'm not going to basically introduce you. I would just ask each panelist to spend 1 minute and then summarize all about them and what it is they do and why basically we need to listen to them tonight. So we're starting with Oluwatobi Bosharod, who is the MD of Infinitechnics. You're on mute.
Thank you. It's pronounced Infinitix. My name is Oluwatobi Bosharod. I'm the CEO of Infinitix Limited, a digital transformation consulting firm. We're a boutique firm focused on driving transformation, particularly in the financial sector, i.e. across fintech, around banking, around tech, dealing with financial services. And one of the major drivers that we have employed for turnarounds in the last 2-3 organizations we have worked with is been Agile. And it's particularly been around efficiency, around culture, and driving the bottom line movement upwards. So well, I'm glad to be here. I look forward to the very interesting conversations that will happen here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toby. Can we now go over to the next person, who is our next panelist, which will be Nkendilim Uwaje, Bego, who is the MD and the CEO of Future Software Resource Limited in Africa, and is basically, has got experience in one of Agile's largest leading transformation. So over to you. I'm not sure if you prefer to be called NK or Nkem, but please go ahead. Okay, looks like Miss Nkem isn't with us right now. All right, could we just move to the next panelist once Nkem comes? So we would like to introduce Mr. Femi. I think was the slide before. Yeah, Okay, Mr. Femi Omogbe Nigun, who is basically the CEO of Treenline Card Management Limited. If you would like to take some time and introduce yourself, we do know that some panelists said they couldn't make it today, but we would go ahead with proceeding with the ones who basically are around. It looks like Mr. Femi isn't around. Could we move to the next person who's a panelist on the agenda? Do we have Mr. Sheyi Tinubu, who is basically the CEO of Lotstad Promo Media? You know, if Mr. Yep. All right, then we would go ahead with, yeah, Olufunke Amoebi. I know I basically spoke to you earlier on, so I know you're online. So please do introduce yourself. And she's the country head, Human Capital, Stanbic Bank, BTC Holdings. And a lot of you would know Stanbic Bank. It's also an international banking corporation, which is a member of the Standard Banking Group. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you in about 1 minute.
Thank you very much and good evening. My name is Funke Amobi, as you've said. I'm the country head of human capital for Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC. And our organization commenced a digital transformation journey a few years ago. And adopting the Agile methodology has been one of the key, if you like, enabling parts of our transformation journey. So we've got Agile teams, cut across that are focused on enabling the digital transformation, which has turned out, we've recorded huge, immense benefits, from deploying Agile in particular in the mainstream of the digital transformation. And so I'm delighted to be in the midst of Agile practitioners today to talk about our experience and at the same time also to learn from experience of other practitioners. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Funke. Could we now go ahead and introduce Mr. Wole Oyeniro?
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Wole Oyeniro. So I lead enterprise technology and performance, basically technology consulting, for using a conventional term, for the Deloitte business in West African region. Deloitte being the largest professional services firm in the world. So I focus on delivering technology solutions, and Agile is also a key agenda I drive within the business. And we have actually been able to successfully deliver quite a few Agile projects. And especially just during this COVID era, we've been able to nearly perfect delivering Agile remotely, which is not something that you would ordinarily find very easy. So I really look forward to contributing to the discussions. My profile is a bit old. I've actually been consulting for about 21 years. It was 21 years last month. So I think there'll be very, very interesting conversations that we're having in here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Wole. I'll catch you up on that 21 years. That's about the same time I've been in IT. Could we also now go ahead and welcome to the future of Agile in Africa and the Middle East. Could we introduce Ms. Esther Akinwake, who is the Chief Human Resource Officer at MTN Nigeria. Do apologies if you basically hear me pronouncing your name mistakenly. I am basically still learning how to pronounce some of my Nigerian names. So go ahead, Ms. Esther.
I think apologies are in order. Okay, it's Akinokawe. Thank you, Daniel. So good evening, everyone. Esther Akinokawe, as you have introduced. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer of MTN Nigeria Communications PLC. And in my organization, we have actually successfully run a few Agile projects, and we're in the process of scaling it up, by operationalizing Agile across the business, starting with our business processes. So this is really my journey and my foray into Agile, and I'm looking forward to having a wonderful time with everyone, our panelists and attendees. Thank you for having me.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Madam. And we will go ahead to the next person. So we also have Mr. Wale Olokodana. So, Mr. Wale, please go ahead and introduce yourself. I believe you're online also.
Yes, I am. So, good evening, everyone. As Daniel has rightly put it, somehow rightly, Wale Olokodana here. Work with Microsoft here in Nigeria. I look after the consulting business for the organization, and that covers multiple countries within Middle East and Africa. I'm very happy to be here today to be speaking with you. In my role, I work with a team of professionals that drive digital transformation primarily across several organizations. And in doing that, we need to adopt methodologies and processes that allow us to deliver to quality, deliver on time, and deliver to customer expectations really within the shortest possible time. And in doing that, we call it modern delivery management. Doing that, we think through things like Agile and DevOps. And I'm happy, to be here, just to share a couple of those ideas that we have. And even internally in Microsoft, you realize that we've gone through a lot of transformation in the last, I think, 6 years, from 2014 when our new CEO came in. And I'm hoping to share some of those, transformational initiatives that we've gone through that have been brought about by the adoption of Agile itself. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Wale. I believe we have, yes, Miss Fatumata, Sokuna Koka, who is actually the founder of YGH West Africa Limited. So please do go ahead. I hope I have pronounced the name also correctly. And then just give us a brief bio in 1 minute about yourself and what your Agile story is.
Hello there, everybody. Thank you very much, Daniel. I'm sure you did better with my name than most of the others. So thank you very much. Anyway, so glad to be here. Been in IT for almost over 20 years, actually. And I am the founder of NN Group, CEO of Y Group Holdings. We happen to have a subsidiary of us here in Nigeria called YGH West Africa. And we focus on full lines of business, which really describes our passion for agility, dealing with how we bring infrastructure as a service to working with our clients in the financial sector to modernize their payment systems, starting from the central banks, working along with our customers to basically change their culture and bring in Agile as part of their way of their culture in their businesses. We also one of our business arm is focused on project funding as well. That also to enable that not only are we working in deploying technology to enable Africans and African businesses, but also to do it in an efficient and cost-effective way that enables sustainability throughout the life cycle of that particular product or service. So I'm very happy to be here to share my experience. My Agile experience started way back in the 90s, back in the day when we were just talking about Rationale and WebSphere and all of that. So I'm glad to join the team and share my experience with everyone. And also, hey, Chijike, good to see you. You're looking good always.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Oh, I can see basically some love basically between the actions. This is what we call bonding. Yeah.
Before you go further, Mr. Koka is my friend.
Hey, thank you so much. Without wasting time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Chizo Malize, who is the Managing Director of Financial, Managing Director of Financial Institutions Training Center in Africa. So could you go ahead and please introduce yourself? I do know you're also online.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of us this evening, from faculty to panelists and organizers and participants everywhere from all over the world. My name is Chizo Malize. I'm the Managing Director of FITC. At FITC, we run a world-class innovation-led platform for knowledge engagement. And we provide knowledge, through capacity building and consulting and advisory services to teaming organizations within the Nigerian financial service sector, just in line with the mandate to build capacity for that industry, which is critical to the growth of the economy. As an individual, I've got over 20 years experience that cut across consulting, that cut across business strategy and business management, and more importantly, across the financial service sector as well. Now, I'm very delighted to be here. I'm super excited to be able to share experiences on some of the things that we have done at FITC embracing Agile. It's actually super amazing to see that significant impact is driven in our operations around Agile, based basically and fundamentally by the vision of leadership to transform our organization and maintain that transformation into a world-class, dynamic, contemporary, and super agile organization. I would look forward to sharing some of those experiences over the while as we proceed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to everyone. And I believe that is all our panelists right now. So without wasting time, one of the things I love to do also as an Agile coach, and I always encourage people who basically are panelists, is principle number 6, of the Agile Manifesto, which is face-to-face collaboration is always more powerful. So without wasting time, I'll ask our panelists to please enable their videos if they can, as we will now be going into our interactive session. I do know some of you have some issues with the backgrounds, but I would just love to make this as interactive as possible. And I will be starting with a question. In Africa right now, where do you see the push for Agile coming from, for the most in leadership? Is it either leadership? Is it the middle management layer? Is it the teams directly asking for it? Or is it individuals who are championing Agile? So Mr. Wale, I'll start with you first of all. Wale Olokodana, from a Microsoft perspective. You're on mute. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. I'll say that it will start from the leadership, but they don't say they want Agile. They say they want to transform. They say they want to be more competitive. They use words like, we need to, change our vision. The world is changing. And then they start to ruminate around that. What does that really mean for us? And then in doing that, things begin to pan out. Then, then they kind of like go to maybe the CIO or somebody and say, this needs to happen. And we expect that the world is being driven by X, or even to an executive, it might even be HR. To say, how do we transform our organization? How do we start looking at changes? And once they do that, then you see that things start to fall into place. So I'll say it's leadership, but it's those unknown desires that they really have that end up being what is now, called Agile, or what we now introduce as Agile. And that's where it really starts. It really starts from my perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Wale. I can see some heads going ahead. So without wasting time, before I go into other people, I've just had Nkem come online. Nkem, can you introduce yourself and then go ahead and just, in your own words, where do you see the push of Agile? So just a brief background about yourself and then just go ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I had some issues with the link earlier. I was connected to the wrong one, but I figured it out. So my name is Nkem Blimuwajebeo. I'm the CEO of FutureSoft. FutureSoft is an IT service company, and part of our service areas is IT consulting, and we have a core focus on digital transformation. And this is why I was nodding, because a lot of the time the push actually comes either from the boardroom or from the C-level executives, right? Where there is some type of awareness about the industry either being disrupted or other industry being disrupted, and simply there is sort of that strategic fear where businesses are saying, okay, what about us? If we don't change, the world is changing, our customers are changing. What do we need to do to sort of stay relevant? What do we need to do to ensure that we are, engaging with our customers the right way? What do we need to do to make sure that our processes are streamlined and automated and, really, really up to date? Nobody wants to sort of lag behind. And I think that there have been enough stories about, sort of companies that didn't transform. And I think Agile sort of piggybacks on that transformation. So I would completely agree with Wale that in the boardroom and at executive level, nobody is really talking about Agile. They're talking more about digital transformation because that is more of the strategic buzzword, right? When you then get into the operations and you then get into the actual implementation, that is when you then start talking about frameworks and methodologies that are going to be used to implement this digital transformation. So I think that they sort of go hand in hand, that it's important that we speak the right language to the right people at the right level. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Nkem, and also welcome. And to Mr. Wale, also to your points, I quite agree. But you see, you guys are coming also from a Microsoft and also from a IT modernization transformation initiative. So let me ask Mrs. Funke, Madam Funke Amobi. One of the questions still on the same topic would be, would you see this push in Africa and in the Middle East from a banking perspective, saying that this is also from the leadership layer, or it's actually based on the necessity and the urgency? Or do you actually see, the push actually coming from the middle management teams and, individuals who say one person has that eureka moment, a bright idea, woohoo, let's go Agile. And then it goes, Africans tend to be very skeptical about change. So you're trying to introduce something new that they're not used to. How would you actually say this is working in Stanbic Bank?
Thanks very much, Daniel. And interestingly, just for full disclosure, Nkem is actually a director on the board of Stanbic IBTC. So she's, so yeah, we're absolutely on the same page. The push, and I speak at Stanbic IBTC, also by extension, Standard Bank Group. So you see, digital is real, and digital is a compulsion in the industry. As you can tell, the future of the industry, which is now, is digital. And right at the center of digital are the methodologies, the principles, the techniques that will enable digital transformation happen in the speed that is required by the market. So in banking, there's rapid, if you like, hyper-changing consumer behavior. So you can imagine that, if I asked who hasn't touched their handheld in the last 10 minutes, I probably will have very few people. 30 minutes, that's just the way it is. And the important thing now, pushing all transactions to the digital platform is a matter of urgency and compulsion in the industry. As a result of that, leadership is, and if you like, leadership at the board level, at the executive management level is constantly seeking out ways of enabling, the organization stay ahead of that pace. So be ahead of the competition, not just ahead of the competition, be ahead of the customer. And being ahead of the customer means that before the customer anticipates the need, the product is ready. Now, for the product to be ready, you require the efficiency and the agility that is required to keep up with that pace. And in the banking industry, we've got a lot of stakeholders that deliver on. So when you talk about product, development and product implementation and rollout and release into the market is a factor of several stakeholders, including the regulators, including the front line, so IT is just a component of that massive, expanse of, individuals and stakeholders that must technically interrelate to enable that product deliver the value that is required. So in a digital transformation, technologies, methodologies like Agile is just indispensable. It's just the way to go. So the push coming from leadership is the push coming from the market and the exigency of the industry. That is where, I will take that position. And that is very much aligned with Nkem's thoughts and at the same time also Wale's thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you so much, Madam Funke. I just basically saw Toby and Esther nodding their heads like they were all in, resonance. So I'll just give each of you 1 minute to go ahead and say on your thoughts, where do you see basically this push coming from?
Okay, thank you. Well, I would say that yes, everyone that's spoken, they are correct. It's mostly a thought in the heart of management to say, how do we measure up? How do we deliver efficiencies across board? However, most times we find that Agile starts from individual departments. Before now, a lot of organizations thought that Agile was better situated in IT. But more and more, we're beginning to see across, particularly in banking, that is more around the culture of the organization and less just about IT. Now, it's not yet a global standard across the banking industry today, but more and more departments and more teams within the banking industry are beginning to adopt Agile. Hopefully, we would find that banks in Nigeria would adopt Agile across all the teams, such that delivery is a focus and not hierarchy. Because you would agree with me that in the banking industry, the focus is still hierarchy and less delivery. But as the industry begins to evolve and fintech is pushing the boundaries, of delivering financial services, banks have had to sit back and to rethink on how to deliver value to their customers. So yes, it's a thought in the heart of management to say, how do we deliver better value and compete in the market? But implementation usually will start from tech and then slowly spread across other teams within the financial industry or within the financial services.
Fantastic. So to you, Esther, I just hear something recent.
Yes,
which
I
is
totally align. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go on. Before you answer, one of the things
okay.
is I can hear from everyone saying value, and then the urgency and the need to now basically think about, mobile being your first display and being digital. So you spoke about IT modernization, digital transformation, digital business change, but overall, the evolution of understanding exactly what delights the customer and what makes your customers, kind of happy, but at the same time keeps the lights burning as an organization. So Esther, what is your own take on this?
I totally align with the contributions that have been made, by other panelists. I agree that the push for adopting agile methodologies right now is coming from the leadership team. But then what Toby said earlier on really resonated with me, which is that when I look at my organization, MTN, the initial push didn't quite start from the leadership team. It was from IT. And basically, it was, a drive to change our speed to market. We realized that the traditional waterfall approach of taking products to the market, in some instances, you would still be in development for 9 months. By the time the product eventually gets to the market, it has become obsolete and, it's no longer relevant to the market. It then became a push coming from the IT division to say, how can we increase our speed to market? How do we innovate around, our customer needs? And that led, to the introduction of some agile teams and the adoption of agile methodologies, which led to quite a number of successes that is propelling the management and the leadership team of the organization now to, embrace agile as a value and to embrace agile as the way to go. So when you ask where exactly is this push coming from, yes, it is from the leadership at the moment, but at the beginning, it was from a department. And then we see so many pockets of, different places within our organization as well that are adopting the agile methodology. Eventually, it will be scaled across the business. And that's where we're at.
Thank you very much. So I would come back to that question right now, to that much later. It's very, very interesting views and takes on that. Overall, we just said it could be anyone, actually. It could be leadership, it could be, IT. But fundamentally, what is important is the need to change, the need to adjust the mindset and the landscape of what it means to deliver value. And value either from a leadership perspective or even from IT trying to remodernize and do certain things. I've got another really interesting questions here. Interesting question. And this basically I'll be asking Mr. Wole Oyeniro. I know you're a Deloitte consultant, and basically Deloitte has a large footprint all over the world in Africa and places. But what mistakes have you seen your organization make when implementing Agile or during an Agile transformation, and what insights did you gain, especially also working in the context of with Africa and the Middle East, or markets in Africa and the Middle East, or companies that are basically, adopting and embracing Agile within Africa and the Middle East?
Yeah, thanks very much for that question. I mean, I really love Mr. Eke's presentation because it actually hit home it was almost like, okay, I mean, what more am I going to say? All the best practices were inherent in there, and the mistakes people make were also inherent in there. I think the first thing that we've seen is that many people think that Agile is one silver bullet that has a toolkit and is a methodology that you just adopt and you are Agile. I mean, getting people to connect with the emotional element of Agile, the mindset concept, is the biggest obstacle because they always want to distill it, bottle it, drink it, and think, yeah, we're there now, let's move on. But all those painful decisions that Mr. Eke and Sigma had to make with his team, whereby people had to relinquish power that they had earned, been working here for the last 15, 20 years. How dare you tell me that I'm not the one that will make the final decisions anymore? You know, so what they do is, I mean, like he also mentioned in his presentation, they try to blend the Agile principles with how they used to work in the past. And what always happens is that Agile suffers. So they observe some of the ceremonies, but they lose the spirit of the ceremonies. So they make stand-ups a status reporting session rather than an interaction between the team to be able to hold themselves accountable, support each other, you know, stand up for assignments, volunteer to progress things together and move on. So it's that infusion, it's change management really is where the mistakes tend to come. And the fundamental lack of understanding that Agile as a precept is more value and principle driven than methodology, framework, and tool driven. In fact, I've had a client that says, I want to be Agile, what software should I use? I'm like, seriously? It's not about software. And another mistake is trying to, which also Mr. Eke mentioned, trying to bottle Agile into the IT department. Okay, just let them all be Agile in there and we're going to be fine. You know, I've had to deliver engagements in this COVID era, which are not technology per se, but digital transformation. And digital transformation, the language of digital transformation is Agile. I mean, I can't say it any more clearly than that. And I've had to run sessions with executive management to help them understand what Agile is. And everyone is always saying, please make sure my boss also hears this because it's mind-blowing, you know. But if they don't buy into this, I'm going to go there, start talking of self-driven, self-organizing teams. I'm going to start talking about, you know, decisions being taken by the development team, that Agile is not just for software development. They'll be like, hey, what are you talking about? So the mistake is always a cultural one, trying to get away with the practices of the past, trying to build Agile org structures that are very, very similar to what they had before and call it Agile and think they're done. So it's not just, it's a global thing. Every single problem that you elaborate with Agile adoption that you see here in this region of the world, we see the same things everywhere. It's always a shift of mind to say, how do I change what I've been doing for 20, 30 years to think about these young people in my organization, these guys who I think don't know as much, to empower them in an Agile manner. That's what, you know, we've been able to observe. And it's a journey, but it's an exciting journey, actually, getting people to change their minds step by step.
Oh, thank you for your time. Thank you so much for that. Whilst you basically touched on culture, I mean, I love culture because I believe it was a while back, you know, we were talking about, you know, how people also translate Agile in terms of culture. So I spoke about, you know, trying to introduce Agile to a man who's never heard Agile and his Hausa, and he would ask you, wait, who is this person? I want to be introduced, wallahi, you know, and then you now try to bring somebody who is basically Yoruba and Igbo, you know, and different people, but they're all MDs or executives in their own way. I just want to ask from a culture perspective and also from a leadership perspective, Madam Chizo Malize, what have you seen in terms of mistakes, you know, that organizations when trying to implement Agile? Is Chizo there? If she's not there, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'm here very well. Thank you very much. And very interesting deliberations. And so for everywhere and everything, culture is always an issue. But I think that I would put the issues and challenges that organizations would face more to what is internal and what is peculiar to those organizations. And so one of the challenges would be that of collaboration. So the organizations move by the way that they are set already, they are super silo. So they work in silos, they are not looking at things from a very broad and holistic view. So the culture of the organizations is not that of partnership and collaboration, but in terms of teams being and do the thing that you need to do. But to bring in Agile, you definitely have to learn collaboration and partnership. So one of the things that we had working for us at FITC was that spirit of collaboration and partnership. And so when we knew that we are in line with our vision, we're at the point where we needed to move the organization from that which is becoming a bit conservative to becoming extremely dynamic. And of course, what would you expect of an organization of 40 years heritage? So FITC turns 40 next year and has done significant building and helping to strengthen the organization, financial service sector, the Central Bank of Nigeria, NDIC, SEC, and of course the deposit money banks and all of those. It gets to a point where you believe that you do know too much and then you've got all that it takes. But the world itself is super dynamic. So for us at FITC, we needed to build an organization that is not just contemporary, but very dynamic and embraces Agile. And so again, coming from that of heritage, one thing was striking. People were already used to their territories and their empires and the locations where it's theirs and their expertise. But to be able to connect with the marketplace and create solutions that are relevant, that are impactful, that are value adding, we realized that we needed to tear down those silos and then build a culture that is more collaborative and that is more aligned to the overall vision of the organization. So culture can be a challenge, but you can also flip that by letting people understand that, hey, this is the vision, this is the direction, this is the new way, in line with the new direction and the needs to either change your game or reconnect with the market or be relevant. And so building that sort of tearing down silos and becoming more collaborative, building multidisciplinary and cross-functional roles and projects may work very well. So you can also work against even when those are the sort of culture that you face. And I think that the outcome is that of a more positive environment where people are totally blended and see the need to work with one another much more. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. So I know, Ms. Funke, you basically had some answers, but I want to give an option to Fatoumata to basically give a bit of, what do you see basically as in organizations making mistakes from your own perspective? One of the things that, Madam Chizo just spoke about was basically tying culture back to the vision and making sure that you have a compelling vision as to why we're doing this and what is in it, for the organization, but fundamentally also for the business going forward in terms of how they work. So moving and breaking those silos where you have people basically saying, oh, we're only HR departments, we don't talk to finance, we're only finance, we don't talk to business, we're business, we don't talk to customer service. But those are the internal kind of cultures. On the internal kind of cultures, we're only and we don't talk to Vodafone. We're only Vodafone, we don't talk to others. And, basically we're only standing back, but then you're still looking at a global landscape in terms of digital transformation and change. So from your own perspective, how would you approach this in Africa and in the Middle East? And what would you consider mistakes and key insights where organizations looking to want to adopt Agile or likely have adopted Agile and said Agile fails? What mistakes can we learn from it to avoid such failures going forward? And how would you advise, our audiences and our panelists?
Well, I don't want to sound like Wale or Wale because they are the consultants here, right? Typically, the consultants would say it depends, and it's a truth statement. It depends. What's the where are the mistakes? The mistakes are from multiple places. We're talking about culture. First of all, you need to understand why you want to do this as an organization. I'll give you an example. In IBM, in the 90s, they decided, actually in the 80s, when they brought Lou Gerstner on, they wanted to save money. That was their strategy. So what did they do? They made all of us work from home. I've been working from home all of my career, right? That was their strategy. And they made it work. Everybody lined up behind it and they changed the culture. Now, if you are an African small business, large business, enterprise business, whatever you are, and you've decided that your customer is your passion, you want to make sure that your customer is 100% happy with you. How do you make that happen? That's the question where it depends. You start now to go back internally and say, well, I need to learn about my customer. My customer loves speed. They love me to be available 24/7. They want me to be affordable. Now, how does that make my business line up with that? You start to think about your people. Do I have the right people? Are they in the right seats? Are they doing the things they need to do to make sure my customer is happy with me 100%? Another example I would throw in here, when I went to work for SSL and I started to bring in the work from home strategy, there was a lot of naysayers because, of course, the first thing they'll tell you, this is Nigeria, it doesn't happen. Well, it had to happen because I needed to charge premium for my service, and therefore I needed to give my customer what they wanted. So we started to change the culture. Everybody had a laptop. You did not have to come to the office before you went to your customer. We had applications that will enable on-time 24/7 response to our customers. We made sure that the cost that was hindering the attitude of our employees were taken away. Simple things, dongle, pay for the data, pay for the extra electricity they need at home to answer those emails, pay for the extra transportation. You have to take into account what is the problem that is hindering your customer being happy to pay you more money. So that's why I said, when you look at agility or agile that we call it now, because back in the day we used to call it agility, it tells you that you have to have a purpose. Is it cost? Is it my customer that I want to be happy? Is it my shareholders? Is it the fact that I want to be able to have more profit? Whatever that it is what you're going to work on to make sure everything in your organization align with it. Another thing that we learned very quickly when I was at IBM before I came to Microsoft and worked with Wale and the team in Microsoft, where I met Chizuke, is how basically what is it that I needed to do, right, as a leader to make sure that we accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. I loved on my partners. I was responsible for partners, and I made sure that my partners had everything. I will fight with Wale. I will fight with anybody in Microsoft to make sure that my customers were happy. And sooner or later, the culture and attitude towards all of my partners changed, and my partners started selling more. So again, it depends.
Okay. Thank you so much. So it all depends. So it's relative, actually. I can see the consultants and the clients basically, also, smiling and, Madam Funke, you actually wanted to actually contribute. So I'll give you 1 minute to just wrap this up. Let's go to the next question.
Yes. Thanks, Daniel. So I thought to just put in some practical do's. So many organizations really think, and we've heard that already, that Agile is all about just the technology delivery and the software and all of that, without thinking about in Agile implementation, the need to make it a holistic implementation. Very simple things like the speed of approval, the bureaucracy, internal bureaucracies involved in obtaining approvals, budgets, and all of that could stifle the execution of Agile teams. What we did from experience was that we found that we had to put in place, because we're a company that's very strict on governance, and so you could find that you have to go through a process to get approvals, through. We have to give them a dedicated budget to one of our core agile teams you called ideas. They were smack at the core of the digital in the early days of the digital transformation. And we saw that they needed to have a dedicated budget so that they could, just hit without missing. And they wouldn't have to get involved in the, bureaucracies, involved in financing or approvals and all of that. So yes, they had rules of the game to use the budget, but that need to ensure that internally the processes related to agile teams is actually enabled by agile principles. It's very important. And that's why there's a need to bring all related parties, executives on board from the beginning, right into the initial trainings. So everyone is on the same page, understanding why we need to do this, what needs to happen from the conceptual stage. Otherwise, there may be a disconnect, which may impact implementation and possibly failure of agile.
Oh, thank you so much. It's interesting you've actually said that, because one of the questions I want to ask before going into the next question, which will be actually to bring in, Madam Toby inside, will be one that has to do with culture, but also regulation and compliance. Is a very complex, myriad of different countries. I mean, in Africa alone, we have ECOWAS, we have different things. We don't really have an African standard for, understanding exactly what universal IT looks like, let alone universal agility. And then we're merging with the Middle East to also talk about, the different types of people where culture comes in. So I'll just ask Madam Toby, in your experience, what mistakes would you say, also when trying to approach or adopt Agile, especially given the fact that if I want to talk to, say, for instance, MTN in Ghana or Vodafone in South Africa, they may basically have different regulations and compliance issues compared to what we have in Nigeria or in other places. How would you overcome using Agile, and what lessons would you actually say or mistakes are there?
I think some things, yes, are peculiar to different organizations and different countries and geographies. However, what I've found that is same and that would be a huge mistake, or that's always a deterrent to the proper implementation of Agile, is the structure that management chooses to run. Let me explain what I mean. Agile really is focused on delivery and less on hierarchy. Every time, and that is same, can be applied anywhere in the world. When all the teams in the organizations are focused on customer delivery, are focused on value delivery, you will find that everyone would align in terms of regulation. Let me give you an example. Like Funke said some days ago, I was part of the senior management team that actually implemented Agile in Standard Bank across Africa. We were the very first set of people that did that. And one of the things that was very clear was that the focus was about the customer. And we understood governance, we understood regulation, and we brought every single part of the business into the Agile team. And as we're running Agile, we're running based on the knowledge of the compliance team, the risk team. So everybody thought the same way, both the guys in compliance, both the guys in risk. So I've not found a team or an organization who is focused on customer value delivery that will not be able to manage or navigate governance and regulation, because that actually will be at the very heart of delivering that customer value. I will not, as a bank, deliver value and then go against regulation, no. But I will deliver value with the understanding that everybody in the Agile team are all looking at delivering value, delivering profitability properly. So I found that, yes, there are different teams, and it was very clear in Standard Bank, we were across a number of countries, and we had to work in Ghana, in Gambia, in everywhere, and we still had to deliver Agile across those countries. So the first thing for me is always been focusing on customer delivery and then taking out hierarchy. And when you find that everybody in the organization is focused on customer delivery, they bring all their know-hows into the Agile team and are able to deliver irrespective of how the regulation looks across either country. So that for me is my experience, or has been my experience.
Thank you very much. So much for that. So one of the key things that I always love to say is that, Agile basically is so adaptive. It's so flexible. It can be actually, adopted by any organization, retail, fashion, any country, you don't really have to have structures in place, because what you're really doing is breaking down structures and adopting a new model of working, how we would work together, how we would collaborate together, and how we would essentially deliver value, whilst learning and then recovering through the mistakes we make and also the successes we make. Madam Esther, I just have a question for you right now, and I believe Chioma has just joined us. Chioma, I'll come to you shortly. But I'll just also advise that all panelists, if you're not basically talking, will just please go on mute, because it causes a bit of echo. So, Madam Esther, it is hard to change people's behavior. And we often know that that is actually harder than it is to try and implement a technical solution, or how people wouldn't work. How do we help engineers and management to choose the less loved path, which is often the harder path, which has to do with, change, So
Okay.
IT tends to always be quick, responsive, and able to fix things. And you always have people telling you, go to the IT guy. But when it comes to culture and it comes to change, it is actually harder changing people's behavior than it actually is transforming an organization in terms of their IT systems. So how would we encourage people?
And I think that's a brilliant question, Danielle. This is also where change management comes in, and deploying the tools of change management to help, especially people in technical backgrounds, to understand the need to adopt the right behaviors. So first and foremost is, we've said, and it's been established even from the presentation by Mr. Eke, that Agile is a mindset, it is a culture. And when you talk about mindset and culture and people changing behaviors and values, you certainly also want to talk about, managing that whole change. And the first thing for me is to identify change champions. Who are the early adopters of this particular change, even within the IT function? Who are those individuals that have adopted, this Agile, values and principles and ways of working? The different methodologies that are being implemented, like the Scrum Master, like the Kanban, when you see a few of these engineers or people with technical background come into the room, okay, or being invited even as guests to witness what is going on, their interest, starts to develop in the change that is going on. And then, from just that basic level, you find people showing more interest. And then the early adopters are able to demonstrate the value. Also, from an organizational point of view, this is where leadership also comes in. Leadership is able to show the value that has been delivered or achieved using this methodology, and gradually you begin to get, the skeptics to be interested in what is going on. Number 3 or number 4 is to show and demonstrate what is in it for the people who are not willing to take the harder path, as you have rightly described it. What is in need for them? What's in it for them is, what is happening with respect to the customers, the innovation that they get to make, the fact that they'll be at the frontiers of development, the fact that they would also see, the business performance, showing through the business performance, the fact that they get to do interesting and meaningful work. And I think that if we're able to implement, some of these different tips that I have shared, you would find that it will not happen overnight. It's a gradual process, but step by step, you begin to layer on it, and then you find that those who were originally skeptic now find themselves more, in tune with what is going on and more receptive and adaptive to what is going on.
Thank you very much. I was just going to call, I've been hearing ladies basically speaking. I just want to call a guy basically to speak, but this is also exciting, It just shows the power of women in IT and the power of transformation and the power of change, happening right now in Africa and the Middle East. Not Mr. Wale, I'll come to Mr. Wale. Mr. Wale, still on the same topic, one of the things we tend to always say, is oftentimes, even as engineers and as IT management, we try to ask people to move away from I-shaped skills to T-shaped skills, and then to work collaboratively. And I love Mr. Ike's presentation where he was talking about the T-shaped skill size workforce. So one of the questions I would ask is, when it is hard to change and when it is very significant and fundamental for an organization to now begin to train, reskill, and then relearn, in the way they work, what would you advise organizations as to how to approach that, especially when it comes to engineers, for instance, saying they've come from a very waterfall, they've come from an RUP background, they've come from, a kind of, V model, design thinking where they do big upfront designs before actually going into implementations, or traditional project management where we need to do the costing, the analysis, the finances, and then it goes through maybe 6 or 7 rounds of reviews before we now say we're ready to implement Agile or implement agility. How would you advise organizations in those kind of structures or setups to adopt change? And how would you help them change their behavior?
Yeah, from my experience, the engineers are never the problem. I mean, they are the first ones to say this is fantastic. When do we start? To be very honest with you. Yes, they are used to certain ways of working. And I want to just make a small point of adjustment to what you said. Design thinking is actually very much aligned with Agile.
Okay.
Design thinking is not a heavy upfront design. That's not the concept. Design thinking is focusing your design on the human beings that you're going to use it, which is why a lot of Agile methods include concepts from design thinking, like user stories, for example. One of the ideas coming from that type of thinking in the way it's actually implemented. But that being said, the engineers are usually thank you. The engineers are usually the ones that come and say, we like this, let's do this. Because the thing that Agile gives them is a lot of flexibility. Engineers are not the most rigid people nowadays, especially in the modern digital era. It's when you talk of maybe some other types of engineering that have to be rigorous and rigid. For example, mechanical engineering. If you are building a machine, there's no agility in building a machine. You have to design these things to the nth degree. That's very, very clear. If you are constructing a building, there's no agility in constructing a building. So not everything can be translated to Agile. But for the things that can, things that are more thought and customer focused from a retail customer interaction perspective, from a broad market perspective, agility tends to lend itself very, very well to that. So how do you get people to adopt it? Show them the success, show them use cases, show them success stories, show them how in practical terms, companies, organizations, entities, engineers, and other practitioners have been able to achieve value by adopting the principles and the values of Agile. So once you're able to give them 1 or 2 case studies that they can relate to, especially from organizations that they respect or they emulate, they become a bit more amenable to the conversation around, okay, so what do we have to do there, to be able to achieve success like this? Because there's no one that doesn't actually want to succeed. So that, for me, I've seen is a way that's helped trigger those type of conversations and help change minds to a fair degree in adopting Agile.
So thank you so much. Brilliant answer. And yes, I was basically using design thinking in the context of the fact that even though people do design thinking, some organizations still tend to do upfront design, before actually doing latter stage rather than iterative emergent design.
So can I just mention something quickly?
Yeah.
Quickly. Agile does not say you must not do any upfront design. Please, let's also not make that mistake.
Exactly.
Okay? So in every single practical Agile implementation, you typically have, if you look at Scrum, for example, you typically have something called like a sprint zero. We call it discovery, or it's called discovery by some practitioners, where you have enough, where you start populating your backlog, based on the epics you've defined, the stories within the epics, and how they relate to, at a minimum, an MVP concept. So there is a level of design. It's just that it's not an nth degree design as you would have had in the past, but that there's no design, no, that's for sure. If you are going to spend like 3 months doing a design for a project before, maybe you can spend a month and a half. but you're not going to spend 2 days. You understand that? So it's not going to be that way. But there is still a lot. In fact, there's a lot more discipline in adopting agile principles and values than in traditional project management.
Agree.
But traditional project management is quite focused on going things by rote. Agile is focusing on actually what the value you intend to deliver is from the very start, for every single minute of every single day, through to the very end, and being ready to tell yourself, okay, I was wrong yesterday. I'm ready to correct myself now. I'm ready to learn from the mistakes I made and do better.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. So I do love that. You see, when you basically get, in room with Deloitte and Microsoft, they basically try to put you in. But Fatuma, you also wanted to contribute on this. I'll just give you 1 minute because we've got like 2 more questions, and then I would love to give some other panelists an opportunity to talk. So go ahead and just 1 minute quickly, if you can.
Okay, so basically, quickly, I just wanted to piggyback on what Esther was talking about earlier on some of the challenges of change management. I wanted to bring to the front that we need to also not take for granted that in this particular process, we do need our HR. HR is so significant to change management. Most of our Middle Eastern African, practitioner, HR practitioner have not yet been given the muscles to flex, right? The space to flex the muscles in making sure they are partners in the business, to make sure that we have the right people hired, to make sure that the strategy is really the strategy for success as a company is met. In the example that Mr. Ike gave was basically around the janitor knowing that he was there solely to put a man on the moon. Now, how do you do that if you don't have an HR partner that is hiring the right kind of people with the right kind of attitude, with the right kind of skill set in the right seat to make all of those things come together? So we should not take for granted that we cannot do these things in our organization without the right HR partner, 1. 2, and this is to the practitioners on Agile, you also have to change your mindset somewhat when you get into conversations with customers that really don't understand all of this naming stuff. All they want to do is make their business better. So when you're going to present to someone that says, look, I'm having a problem with being able to respond to my customer and give them what they need on the time they need it, you don't just go up and throw up an Agile presentation and start telling them about agility when you can actually have the same conversation without naming and confusing the customer. So those are the 2 things I just wanted to point out.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Really fantastic, fabulous answers. I've got something really dear, right, to my heart. Whilst I know I'm a skilled Agile program consultant and I'm basically safe, and basically I also experience less and all of that. My question right now is, and I'm going to ask Wale this time to start, and then Nkem, you based on your own understanding. When do you not need to scale Agile?
So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So from my perspective, I mean, when you don't need to scale Agile is when you're looking at, specific projects that you have, or specific timelines for smaller teams, that you want them to deliver something very specific to you or to the organization. And at that point, you just don't want to, it's not yet time to start letting it. When you've adopted it, you've tried the methodology, it's proven, it's tested, it works, then you can then start thinking of scaling. You don't scale, at the beginning, you don't think of, oh, let me just do it. Let me kind of like get everybody going on it. You do it when you're very clear that you're aligned on the objectives. You've defined, all your problem statements. You've defined the teams. You have at least a small team that has worked effectively and has been able to implement it that you can then carry along, and then you can start thinking of, okay, let's look at what scaling methodologies do we then use to make sure that this can scale across the organization, etc. That's kind of like my perspective on that.
Lovely perspective. And Kem, your take on that. When should an organization, because a lot of people make that mistake of, oh my gosh, we are going agile. Okay, we've got 3 or 4 teams. Okay, let's now do scale agile. So when is it right to scale agile, and when should you not scale agile?
So I think that, one of the things that often happens when you're looking at agile is that you sort of start seeing sort of like dependencies between teams and between departments and between functions. And, those can often lead to dysfunctions within your agile teams, right? So when you're seeing those type of things, you then have to sort of slow down and really, first of all, track what are all of these dependencies and how can we start eliminating the dependencies? Because the truth is that once you scale it, you're scaling the dependencies and then you run into real problems, right? And, we've seen some organizations who have, sort of really done a great job in, and this is as a global sort of best practice. There have been organizations that have methods where they sort of track dependency almost live on dashboards and then create sort of plans of how they're going to eliminate those dependencies, right? So I think it's really important to be careful about what are those dependencies within my organization that either hinder Agile from working or slow Agile down a lot, and then start working on taking those dependencies out, because you have to remember that you're completely restructuring the mindsets, number one, but also processes, as well as how things work within the organization. All of that takes time and doesn't really, happen overnight. So I think that scaling Agile is something that you should only do when you've really proven that it is working within the organization, within the teams that you've already set up, and that, as you, and also scale sort of in maybe in batches, as opposed to just say full blown, we're doing Agile across everything, so that you don't run into organizational, issues and sort of breakdowns, and in the end then deliver poorly to your customer, right? So I think just having that in mind is really key.
Well, yeah, so fantastic and really good, feedback. One thing I always tell people is, first of all, think about, what's even the size of your organization? Do you have that many customers? Do you basically need to, scale when you can actually use small agile teams to do the same thing, coming to the last 2 questions, and I'm going to try and tie them up just because of time. We've only got 2 more minutes, but this is a really good, interesting question. It has to do with bottlenecks. And for me, I know that one of the bottlenecks of any agile transformation is project financing. How would you approach getting organizations to get budgets approved or authorized? Or how would you even approach having the initial conversation, especially because agile transformations can be costly and often are costly? So would I basically start with you, Madam Funke, if you want to basically give me your own take on that?
Thanks very much, Daniel. And yes, you are right. Project financing is a big part of successful agile transformation. So the lean budget approach is something that we find quite useful. So we needed to give them, as I said earlier, is bespoke financial governance that would, one, not reduce their throughput, one that would ensure that execution continues at the speed of agile, one that would, essentially be sure that productivity is not hindered. So first of all, a dedicated budget, a dedicated financing governance works to align the agile principles and allow the efficacy that is required for appropriate delivery. And we've also found that ensuring that there's a connection between executive leadership as far as project financing is concerned, and the reporting and accountability and all of that, to ensure that overheads and associated costs with the project financing and all of that is reviewed at the appropriate time. Timing is most important, with the agile delivery, such that, there's no bureaucracy and there's no bottleneck as far as project financing is concerned. As I said, with lean budgeting, they have a dedicated budget. The governance and the rules are absolutely bespoke. accountability is layered. So by that, I don't mean hierarchy. So for us, experientially, we have a digital steerco, a digital steering committee. I sit on that committee as well. It's led by the CEO, and the committee meets ever so frequently. And then the Agile teams report into that committee, and they showcase everything in the speed of light. Almost as they are done their Scrum meetings and all of that, they're feeding back, and digital stakeholder has oversight and can see, so there is, I think, is that fluidity, that governance, that financial governance for a dedicated lean budget that works. That's what works. That's what has worked for us. And, it's been such that financing has not been a bottleneck. And that's because we realized very in the streets, very early in the days that, look, financing can be a bottleneck because we knew what our governance and procedures could be like. So we thought, a lean budget, and one that is very clear on accountability, but that is direct access for the teams, such that they knew that all we have to do is to just, feedback to digital stakeholder that meets ever so frequently. And there's no gap in the communication on what has been spent, when it's been spent, and, how is it delivering on it? How is it relative to overheads and all of the related costs? So lean budget, bespoke financial governance, and at the same time, a layered oversight that enables you manage overheads and be very sure that your, costs is not thrown out of balance.
Okay, so thank you so much. Yes, Madam Chizo, you wanted to talk about the success factors, in terms of how you measure transformation. And I know you've spoken about finances, Madam Funke. I'm going to tie this question right now. In Africa, where we know they have a very corruption rates, and the middle is, where people tend to, over exaggerate the budgets of, IT businesses and transformations and stuff like that. When transparency and honesty comes, how do you tie that back to agile transformations and success factors, as well as agile finance? So I would go, Madam Chizo.
So is the question for me or who?
No. Okay. So it's going to be for Madam Chizo. Thank you, Madam Funke, for your. Okay. I'm tying your question to the next one, basically.
Right.
So, Madam Chizo, you go ahead.
I noted that you tried to tie two questions together, but I think it's a bit ambiguous. I think you should just break it down a little bit so I can understand what you wanted me to speak to. Yeah?
Yeah, so basically the first question I was going to speak to you was basically about success factors for agile transformation.
Okay.
Second question would be the fact that we measure success not just by the reward that the customer gets and the value, but also the finance you have just basically gone ahead to ask for to justify that transformation, and in an era of transparency. So you go ahead with success factors, and then from there, I'll just have Madam Nkem, go ahead and end with, how to talk about, reporting and transparency, especially in Africa and the Middle East, because this is fundamentally dear to everyone, especially when it comes to money. So, Madam Chizo, go for it.
Yes, thank you very much. Success factor starts with, and very critical, the audacity and the vision to be able to even take it on in the first place. And so whether the initiator is from middle management, or it's from the floor, or it's from technology, or it's from department, or even from leadership, the greatest and most important thing is for leadership to understand that this is a need to do right now, and be able to have the boldness and see that vision and bring it to life. Another success factor that is very critical is communication. And so sometimes leaders take onto that vision, whether it's coming from the floor or from the department or from technology, but in recognition of the needs to do that, just begin to run without having clarity of communication. And so people are not certain what the direction is. And so you can see organizations firing in all of its cylinders, and people are not very certain about the direction because they are not super clear about what this is supposed to take us to or where it's supposed to take us to. Another success factor, and that's also very critical, is to not pay so much attention to making this a technology thing, but engaging the people to see that every single person understands that Like we've said, this is the vision, this is the direction, this is the value we want to bring to the market, this is the objective we want to meet with Agile. It could be building a customer-centric organization, it could be building a value-driven organization, it could be building a dynamic and contemporary organization that is world-class and innovative. But that engagement is important so that people can understand where they are going, what is the reason they are doing this, and what is the outcome that is expected by the organization. Those sort of clear direction and communications and engagement make it possible for people to not only buy in, but also be able to drive it and own it.
Thank you.
One that I would also talk about, which is important equally, is measurement. And so if you're also able to bring in some measurement metrics to know where you're going and how far you've gone and how much is achieved, and again, tie that back to communication of the vision and the difference between where we are going and what we have achieved, then it makes it easy for everybody to buy in and move along. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madam. We will come to measurements. I know we have some questions from our live audiences. We're over time. We've only got 1 minute left. So I would basically ask Madam Nkem to go ahead and then finalize, and then we would now go into our live questions from our audiences.
Thank you very much.
Can you hear us?
In terms of transparency and reporting, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you able to hear me? Hello?
We're able to hear you.
You can hear me now. Okay. So I think that a lot of, okay, great. So I think that a lot of what has to do with reporting and transparency, again, is driven from the top, and I think that a lot of it starts at board level, right? Even in terms of the budget allocation that Funke spoke about, right? A lot of that is decided at board level, funded, right? And that they're properly reported on, right? So that sort of has to trickle down from a very high level within an organization, and then has to be monitored through these different committees that have been set up. And I think that, the beauty of Agile is that you have a lot of sort of real-time reporting that allows you to really track your outcomes. And I think tying, sort of your investment that you're making to actual business outcomes in measuring your ROI of transformation project, whether you're using Agile, ensuring that you're measuring the business outcomes. So you have to be clear on what your KPIs are, and you have to be clear on, sort of measuring that you're delivering on time, that your product quality is good. You have to ensure that your customers are happy. You have to ensure that there's business value. You have to ensure that features and the requirements that you're actually building are being built as planned, right? And as you're doing that, you will then sort of see that your return on investment is certainly measurable, right? And much more measurable than with other, sort of projects that you're doing within an organization. And that really, I think, the reporting helps build that transparency and allows stakeholders to really get an insight. And that also gives confidence to management and the board to then sort of say, okay, we can invest more and we can allocate more money because it's tied to our business outcomes, and the business outcomes are being implemented properly the way that we're envisioning it.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all our panelists. That was fantastic, excellent, and really great insights. This is basically my third session on this series, and I've just kept on growing and learning. And I do know that every of our attendees also and our audiences, even as we're streaming right now live on YouTube and on Instagram and all the other channels, also on Zoom, we have quite a couple of people here. This has been really fantastic. I've got a few live questions, and the first one I would ask basically is how do you see success of transformation in your organization, especially in Microsoft and in MTN? And what are your measurement criteria that you define in terms of transforming agile transformation? And this was basically, I do know the guy who asked this fantastically, but it's all about business agility and how do you measure success of transformations in your organizations?
Well, you mentioned Microsoft. Let me just, I'll say, and no pun intended here.
So MTN and my
okay. Yeah. So let me just quickly start off and run it up. No pun intended, but I'll say just have a look at the stock market in the last 1 year and see the transformation and the results. I think and in all seriousness, if you think about the journey we started 6 years ago, when our CEO said that our industry is no respecter of tradition, it's a respecter of innovation. And how do you innovate? You innovate by, as one of the speakers said, the implementation of transformation, digital transformation is agile. And I think that's what it's been for us. Faster time to market, better product quality, more customer focus, our ability to engage our customers. In those days, we'll have beta releases and they will have service packs. Now we have insiders who help us to test our software. Windows 10, as an example, you don't have Windows 11. That's because we've adopted that methodology where we are continuously iterating on a specific product, having different branches, imbibing the agile methodology, imbibing DevOps. I know you wanted to touch on that, but imbibing all that, and then the outcome is actually customer success. The outcome is faster product delivery, and that's how we kind of measure to ensure that we are doing the right thing. Faster releases, of our products to market, imputing what the customer has said into it, not waiting. Now the customer gives you feedback, and you don't have to wait 1 year to get that release. You get the release most likely in the next release cycle or 2 release cycles after, which is just maybe weeks away. And I think that's the mindset that we have. A couple of things that we've done, adopted a growth mindset to ensure that we are continuously learning and continuously delivering, and we are willing to take risks, fail fast, and fail forward very quickly. So just put a couple of things together, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, Madam Esther, I know you are MTN, so basically, yes. Go ahead. 1 minute. Summarize.
Okay, then. Okay, so for us, I mentioned earlier on that we've implemented a number of projects using the Agile methodology, and they have been quite successful. There's a particular product that we've been iterating, over the last 18 months. And virtually every 2 weeks, we add capabilities, we add functionalities, we test, back in the market, we learn, we adapt, and then we can even see, the impact in our bottom line. We can see the additional revenue coming from that particular product. And we aren't done yet. We're still using the Agile methodology to continue. So I would say that one of the core ways of measuring the success of our Agile, adoption is revenue growth, especially per sprint. And that is what we have discovered with this particular, product, customer innovation that we have done. Per sprint, we'll see in very clear terms what exactly we are getting in terms of revenue growth, in terms of profitability, even the customer loyalty. When we do our net promoter score and, the results come in, we'll see that is, the right decision that we have taken. The quality of, the product, the user experience with the app, the stickiness value, and of course, what my co-panelist said about faster releases, speed of delivery, lead time from to do to done of the total product. So these are some of the ways that we have gone about, measuring the success of our Agile adoption.
I love the word from to do to done, from concept to cash, idea to impact, from, one guy's idea now going into, Owo, Naira, Mula, Chadas, whatever you want to call it in your language, This is a question for Mr. Ike. Mr. Ike, I don't know if you're still there right now with us, but one of the things we wanted to know, and in 1 minute, what would have happened to your company had you not adopted Agile before COVID lockdown? If Mr. Chike is not there, I'm going to throw this right now to somebody else. Madam Toby, do you want to basically just give us 1 minute? As in, I know you're adopting Agile, so Madam Toby, just quickly.
I'm happy to give a word to that when Toby is done anyway.
Okay, all right then. Go ahead, Madam Toby. You're mute. You're mute.
Sorry, I missed that question. If you'd repeat the question again.
Like, what would have happened to your company, right now, looking at the pandemic, right? We've seen pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, or in pandemic, COVID. This question was originally addressed, but I'm going to readdress it right now. What would have happened to your organization if they hadn't adopted Agile? And also, was there any value in adopting Agile before lockdown and after lockdown?
Okay, there's been enormous value adopting Agile before lockdown. I was recently the CEO of Rent Money. Rent Money was a loss-making company for about 5 years. One of the major strategies that we adopted was Agile to turn it around. And within 6 months, we went from a 5-year loss-making company to making profit of $2.5 million in 6 months. And one of the major tools we implemented was Agile in terms of culture, in terms of efficiency, in terms of focus on value delivery. So pre-lockdown, yes, Agile has been quite good in helping us. And right now we're running a digital transformation project with a bank during Agile. And I think one of the things that Agile taught the bank was that digital was critical in delivery or value to the customer. And so we're asked to come in to help run that project. And we began to see fruits, we're going to see rewards to the bank in terms of implementing Agile. And so, for example, a lot of what lockdown has done is made it impossible for people to hide under the cloak of I'm working and not delivering value. So it was very clear that you are either delivering value or not. And when we brought Agile in, we were able to clearly show in terms of measurement and in terms of impact on the customer side. So yes, Agile has helped to clear ambiguities in some organizations, and it's made it clear that people can do better even with limited resources and being offsite. And offsite is one of the things that made a difference as well in the banking industry. They're able to work from home and still deliver value, which the banks thought was impossible before lockdown. So yes, that's been the value during lockdown.
Okay, so
sorry to butt in, Mr. Bajai. How you are looking for me when I stepped off? Please, I'm available now in case you still need me.
I'll come back to your question quickly. I just want to basically have 1 minute for Madam Chizo, and then I would hand over right now. We've got some other questions that have been, asked to our live audience. We don't really have the time to go through all of them right now because of time. What I would love to do is collate as many questions, and then we would basically send a response to all our audiences, So we have a question for you, Mr. Chike. Mr. Ike will be actually sending you that question much later. But I just wanted to hear from Madam Chizo, because you said you had 1 minute to talk. And then
I was just going to weigh in on the question that was directed to Mr. Ike with regards to not having implemented Agile before the COVID-19 pandemic. What would have been the situation for his organization? And I would like to share this for for our viewers and audience, attendees, and of course, even panelists. So the fact that every single one of us is here does not mean that we've experienced and executed Agile 100%. And I'll give you a typical example. So for us at FITC, it's aspirational. It is something we wanted to do. It is something we looked forward to doing. But it's something we never even did before COVID. But what has happened over the last 5 months, and I'll share with you how some of these experiences can be very informative and useful to other people. So in our own case, as much as it's aspirational, we haven't been as scientific as MTN, as Standard Bank, or Stanbic IBTC have been in terms of the embrace. But there is nothing that is the biggest thing is to have the vision for that. So what are the things we have done is, whether or not we have the science for Agile, we have the concepts and methodology in place, we also have the mindset, which was most important for us. And so for us, what we did was to embrace all of these sort of concepts that mean we must have to build an organization that is super world-class and super transformation. And we embrace all of the changes we needed for our products, for our services, for our platforms, and we are also able to do the things we need while we get into implementation like other organizations. And anybody can do that also.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I've really run out of time. I so wish we basically had time to go into 9 o'clock. This is actually a Sunday, and I know we've taken each of you away from your personal family times and whatever you're also doing. Without wasting time, I would just basically want to say a huge thank you to all our panelists, to everyone who has collaborated, everyone who has contributed. I think the conversation still needs to go further. We still need to go on. I also want to say a huge thank you to our keynote speaker. And I'm just basically going to go on a quick 1-minute break and then just get in touch with our facilitators who are just going to come announce a few other things before we round up for the end of the day. But thank you very much for tuning into the future of Agile in Africa and the Middle East. It's been an insightful time. My name is Daniel Dinner. I've been your moderator, and it's been a pleasure actually having each and every one of you, contributing and, collaborating. And I believe that the Middle East and Africa are actually rising, and I continue to look forward to hearing further good news and support. And thank you so much also to Abby and to the entire team in the future of Agile and the Agile Advisor Africa, who have given me this opportunity to collaborate with you all on this. Over to you, Ithi. Thank you.
Hi, Daniel. Job well done. We'd like to appreciate the job that you've done. Fantastic management of our panelists, of the questions, and weaving, all together to make a beautiful picture. On our own as well, we'd like to appreciate all our panelists from Mrs. Oluwa Toby Boshiru, the MD of Infinitix, to Mrs. Kendili Wajeb Bihu, the MD of Future Software Resources, to Mr. Akino Speaker, Mr. Chijoke Eke, MD of SIDMAC, Mr. Wale Oyeniro, Enterprise and Technology Performance Leader, Mrs. Chizo Malize, Managing Director of Financial Institutions Training Center, Mrs. Oluwa Funke Amobi, Country Head of Stanbic IBTC Holdings, Mrs. Esther Akinwakwe, the Chief Human Resource Officer at MTN, Mrs. Fatumata Eskoka, Founder YGH West Africa, and Mr. Wale Olokudundano. Yeah, I hope I got that correct. Director Microsoft Services. Thank you all. It was an insightful time listening to all your perspective on how Agile has been implemented in your various organizations, in your experiences. Thank you for doing justice to the topics. Thank you for making this session quite interesting. I was telling Abby behind the scenes that somehow we've run 3 series, and that somehow we seem to be relating a lot with what we're hearing much more than any of the other series. And Abby was saying that yes, probably because this actually tells our story. It speaks to our reality. So it's been very insightful and very encouraging as well. There's a lot of hope for Agile in Africa. Truly, the future of Agile in Africa, we can see that it's quite bright, and it's possible to implement Agile in Africa and in the Middle East. So thank you all our panelists. We appreciate you greatly. Daniel, what can I say? You're part of the team. You were spectacular. Thank you. Thank you so much. Daniel, you're almost a superstar. We can't show you all the hashtags, all the love that you're getting. You're getting quite a lot of love on all our handles. We'll let you know if we should give out your number as well. You have a lot of people asking for your number. So we'll let you know as well. One final time, I would like to appeal to the panelists. Please don't be in a hurry to go. We'd like to take something we call an alumni picture. At the end, you would like to switch on, or we're asking you to switch on all your cameras. So we take a group picture. So please don't be in a hurry to go, not now, towards the end. Very quickly, we would also want to still appreciate our sponsors and our supporters. If without you, we would not be here. So we want to quickly appreciate again all our sponsors and partners, Agile Alliance, Business Agility, Take TK Consultant, Abby Mentors, Banking, Payment Systems and Context, as well as Orchard Technologies, Gracious Travels and Tours. Thank you so much for supporting this dream and this initiative. Also, a big appreciation to our ecosystem partners, those that have continuously and consistently believed in us, in our dream. IC Agile, Remote Forever, SIDMAC, Agile People, 3 Lines, Center for Agile Coaching, Caleb Consulting, Be Agile, Access Bank, Abby Mentors again, African FinTech Foundry, and Agile Dads. Thank you so much for being a consistent partner. So I will be handing the baton over to Tunde. Tunde will be telling us what next. What is next for the future of Agile in Africa and in the Middle East? It's been an immense pleasure for me anchoring this side of the series with Daniel. Daniel, I'll see you on the other side very soon. Good night to our panelists. Good night to you, Daniel. Over to you, Tunde.
Thank you very much. Yep.
Much IT. Thank you for all the appreciations. They were fantastic. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to give you the next steps. So, next steps. So, we're asking you to be a part of the Future of Agile 2020 Series 4. So, this is a save the date announcement. It's going to be on the 4th of October this year. Please save it on your calendars, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. Right, so this is one that really that's going to be really interesting. We're having a live case study from organizations that we have been a part of and organizations that have been through an agile transformation. Right, so please watch and listen as leaders from these organizations talk about their agile transformation journey. Right, so we'll be hearing from SIDMAC Technologies Limited, 3 Line, Simfix, Access Bank, AFF, Deloitte, and MTN. So please, it's going to take place on October the 26th this year. Please save in your calendar as well. Now, great. So, you know, we also like to share our stories, which is what this particular set of series is about, sharing our stories, right, to the world. So we also like to know your stories. So we have a module on the Future of Agile website where you can share your stories. If you have a digital transformation story or culture change story, or any technological change going on in your organization, please go to the Future of Agile. You'll see the module where you can share your story so that everybody, knows what you're talking, what you've been through and how your journey has been over the last few years in your with your agile transformation. So please go to the website. It's thefutureofagile.org and share your story. Right. So we're also calling for blog contributors. You write blogs, you have a blog, or you like to, you love to write, right? You can go to the Future of Agile and also post your blogs. It will get a whole lot of traffic. And this is a way that we like to give back to the community. So please go to thefutureofagile.org and post your stories. Okay, these are the freebies. So our partners and sponsors and people that have seen that what we do here is try to develop the community, have also decided to give to the community here in Nigeria and Africa and the Middle East. And one of them is the Agile Alliance. Agile Alliance has graciously given us 1 year membership at the reduced price. So it's normally $99. But because of this initiative, they have decided to give it to us for $10, just 10 US dollars. We've had a lot of people join, so please go to the Agile Alliance. Everybody that has registered, actually, everybody that registered to be on this in this session would get a free membership. So please send us an email, info@theagileadvisor.com, right? And then just let us know you're interested, and we'll send you the codes. All right. So please do that to get the membership reduced cost. I think this is free actually. So it's a 1-year individual membership for Agile Alliance. So please send an email to info@theagileadvisor.com. Another freebie, which is fantastic as well. Business Agility exclusive membership offer. So they are giving us a 50% discount. You'll get the code the same way. Send an email, right, to info@theagileadvisor.com, and then you get your 50% discount. You get the code, and you can coupon code, and then you can go to Business Agility Institute. The link is there, and you would just sign up for the membership. We ask you for the code, and then you punch in your code, and you get a discount, 50%. Right. Once again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? It's the future of Agile. Click subscribe, ring the bell so that you can get notifications every time we post new videos, and like, comment, let's know what you think, right? So all our sessions are always posted on the future of Agile on YouTube, right? So please go and like. Thank you. All right, the future of Agile membership. So we have 5 kinds of membership. So we have the free for all the people that have registered for this session, right? You get it free. The price is $95, but it's free for everybody that registered. Then we also have associate membership. So the associate member is $145. The full member is $205 US dollars, and the fellow and honorary futurists are by invitation, and we will reach out to people that we feel are meant to be part of this. So please go on the website, go to membership, and read all about it. Right. Contributions and suggestions. If you have any contributions, suggestions, please contact us at info@theagileadvisor.com. And please follow us on all our social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, at The Agile Advisor. Okay, so this is the fun part of it, right? So we've put together a few videos and pictures just for your entertainment, so that you see what goes on behind the scenes every single time that we have these sessions. It's always interesting. I mean, I go back there and laugh a lot, We jokingly always take pictures, and we kind of think about which ones will break the internet. I think mine is still winning at the moment. So please go to the future of Agile behind the scenes, check out videos and pictures, and let's know what you think about them. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. I'll hand over to Eliana.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure we all had a good time with this session, with all the, the impacts that Agile has done to all these organizations. I really want to say thank you to the panelists for all their success stories, through this journey, this Agile journey. And I want to say to to Mr. Eke, I didn't run away. But I know that, I miss Sidmark so much. And I know that in my Agile journey, my Agile success journey, Sidmark is always there. I mean, if I hadn't come to Sidmark, I'm not sure I'd have been able to. I'm not sure, but I'm grateful, to have worked in that organization. And I want to say thank you, to Sidmark. Anyways, we have a winner from the Series 3 giveaway context that we had. I'm sure a lot of us participated. And I'd like to say congratulations to Sidmark team. Before then, I would like to say thank you to Team Metro, who actually gave us a prize worth $250. Thank you very much for this contribution. And yay, Sidmark won the prize. Congratulations, Sidmark, for this, for participating, for showing that yes, that we're truly agile, in the things that you do, in your organization. I like to say also thank you to all the attendees for giving us time, taking time actually to participate in this series. I'm also looking forward to Series 4 in October. I hope you all will also, join the session in October. And please do invite a lot of people. With all the executives that have spoken today, I'm sure that a lot of organizations will also begin to adopt Agile, especially in these times. I know that one of the things that made me fall in love with Agile was because of its values and principles. And that actually changed my, my own world of work. And I needed to, what do I say now? Infect someone with that Agile spirit, and that's why one of the things why I needed to introduce Agile, to Sidmark at that time. And I hope I'll do a lot of job, affecting other organizations as well, to adopt the Agile values and principles. We are almost, yes, unfortunately it's past 9. So I'd love the panelists to please put on their cameras. We want to take a group picture for the alumni. Can all the panelists please put on their cameras, please? Unfortunately, I think about 3 people. Okay, thank you. I have Chioma, your camera is not on yet. Okay. I think Chioma's left. Okay. All right, so are we ready? Yeah, sure. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for your time.
You literally took a picture.
No, there's a picture on the system, and there's also a picture.
Oh, I was getting
yeah, so yeah.
Okay, then. Thank you.
So I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you for all the experiences. I really do hope that other organizations will learn from you and, and begin to adopt Agile. It's so important. And I know that, a lot of results would actually come out from adopting Agile. So thank you very much for your experience. Thank you. I hope that you also infect other organizations, to adopt the principles and values of Agile. Thank you very much all for your time. Thank you, attendees. Thank you all, and have a good evening. Good night.
Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you.
Evelyn,
good night.
A lovely week ahead.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Night, everyone.
Night, everyone.
route